Welcome back once again to OPC Season 2. I'm AVRL, joined with me, Pixie, as we're about to head into the final match of the evening. Mega Thunder take on Flash Wolves.
Mega indeed. These guys have a massive team roster, as you see here. And still going. One more. There we go. That's the whole lot of them. Man, they are going to be taking...
There's a lot of them.
There's the Mega roster. They are going to be taking on...
I would be disappointed if their roster wasn't big, because then it would just be... You wouldn't use Mega, right? You'd have to use a different word.
Yeah, you just have absolutely no subs. But it is Flash Wolves, who have 6 members and 6 members only. That is, of course, not including Coach Rai.
Same 6 members we know and love that have stuck through the whole of OPC Season 1, the World Cup, and now into Season 2. So a very seasoned veteran lineup. Great results so far in Season 1. Carrying that over into Season 2. Let's get a couple words from both sides before we kick off the action.
和我们闪电狼的张继，那我们先来问一下
Tanks from both sides.
有什么话想要对我们说吗
？I love banana.
好，他说他爱香蕉。好，那我们就好，这是一个友谊赛分享。好，那中局有什么话要对我们其他话说吗
I love banana too.
好，所以我们现在看到的是2个温斯顿在吃香蕉，画面非常违和。好，你这个动作 OK， 那我相信2队都会打出精彩好比赛。那我马上把画面交给主播赛评。
Me too, fellas. Me too.
I never know what to expect from these guys. Like, I don't know, like, that's like this kind of weird, like, tropical island version of breaking bread with your enemies. Like, just breaking banana. I don't know. I mean, that was really a beautiful thing just happened there. Like they shared in this fruit, and you know these two teams that are about to come up head to head were able for a moment to see eye to eye, and I mean that's just.
And now they're going to kill each other in game.
Yeah. Like Peter Watt really, you know, really just breaking boundaries.
But it is, it's funny because they are the Winston players on both sides, and also the youngest players on both sides. Both players, if I'm not mistaken, still 16, going on 17.
I wonder if that was planned. I wonder, like, I think for T1 certainly, but like, that response was like, I don't think that would have been planned. Like, how could it have been? Unless they like,
I don't know.
Do you reckon they called them up like, all right, Flash Wolves, I've got a bet that I want to do on our game. That was an absolute joy. Look at that, like if they weren't playing Overwatch, if you look at those two rosters, if they were actually just going to have a regular fight, I feel like Mega would win just through like sheer numerical superiority.
Just, if you could fit like 8 or 9 people into a server, right?
If they were just gonna like meet up and have a fight, Mega would win. But this is Overwatch, and actually we do have to be honest in saying that Mega Thunder currently sitting at, I believe, a tied 6th place, or maybe technically 7th right now. Yeah, technically 7th right now, with Flash Wolves sitting at a tied 1st place. It actually is Flash Wolves currently favored to win. So actually maybe the strategy for Mega Thunder is going to be to step away from the keyboard and have a regular fist fight.
Maybe it is, and we'll see very soon, but Mega Thunder have made a substitution today. This is also a team, mind you, that has picked up the remnants of Fireball from Season 1, then added North American and European players, one of which is Elk, and then made another substitution midway through the season by taking off Colonels and then adding in White from Detonated Korea. So as we're going through the now Mega Thunder lineup, as we head to the end of the first round robin, NZNR has joined us.
He indeed
in Moffat's space.
Has, yeah. He is back off the bench, and I find this quite interesting because they have had a lot of success with Moffat. He's been a real superstar, but evidently NZNR they feel is the way to go tonight, and also NZNR and Apudo, much the same as Moffat and Apudo, are this absolute dynamic duo. They kind of have this level that exists between them that they both seem to operate on, and it's actually really incredible that this team has 2 different DPS duos that have that kind of option. And it's very rare that we have DPSs being the players that get substituted in and out.
Well, he doesn't know how he feels about that. It's like, not today. Later.
He's like, I just came here to play Overwatch, Apudo. Apudo is a real character, by the way.
What I want to say about that as we're moving into Flash Wolves, just to finish off the talk about Mega Thunder, is they have mentioned they have communication issues, so maybe moving NZNR and Apudo together, who have that built-in innate synergy built over Season 1, also the fact that they both speak Thai, maybe that helps them out.
Yeah, and I believe the team largely communicates in English for the sake of their US and European players, but absolutely between the two DPSs, it is good to have that little extra bit of communication and that familiarity like you were talking about. But here we have, of course, Flash Wolves on your screens. No substitutions, no bells, no whistles, just 6 men with raw talent, and indeed talent that is consistently being refined to new levels. The real big one for this weekend will be their matchup against Ardian tomorrow, but they actually do need to make sure they win this one so that matchup against Ardian can be a resolving of a tie as opposed to trying to fight back into getting a tie. Indeed, if they were to drop this matchup, the best they could get would be, I think, a technical first place finish based off the head-to-head, but it would be tied in standings. So much like Ardian earlier tonight, do very much want to pick this.
Now imagine if they did have the bells and whistles, and they probably do need that for tomorrow against Ardian, but this is an important match. Like you said, you need to set the standard now. Go in strong against Mega Thunder, come out stronger, and then go up against Ardian tomorrow, because you don't want tomorrow to be a struggle where you feel like you're behind, you're just trying to catch up to Ardian. You want it to be competitive. And tonight has to be a good showing for Flash Wolves, and importantly for Mega Thunder as well. They're already in 7th place. They cannot afford to slip too far down.
Yeah, absolutely. They may not have bells and whistles right now, but what they do have is half a banana.
Both of them do.
Yeah, that potassium.
And not
boost,
anymore because they've finished it.
Well, but they've got, like, it's with the banana was inside you all along. Yes, they've got that potassium boost. They're ready to go. They're ready to play some Overwatch. I'm expecting some top-notch Winston play, if nothing else.
I'm also expecting, you know, now that we look at Mega Thunder, you have White on the roster, you have now Inzina off the bench and onto the main roster for tonight against Flash Wolves. What are we going to see out of this team? Are there going to be some surprises? What have they done to prepare? Because, mind you, they haven't had a match yet since that break in the middle between week 2 and 3. So this is now coming in kind of fresh.
Yeah, it kind of is, and absolutely that's time that they would have been able to reset and fix up anything that wasn't quite working out for them up until this point. And this is also quite a significant matchup. Like, in terms of the caliber of team you have to play against, it's one that they will have needed a lot of time to prep for, and they've had that time. So with that in mind, I'm excited to see what they pull up, and their first map pick is actually going to be Ilios. Of course, Mega Thunder with the home side do get to take that one away, and this is just 2 tanks crouching.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty good. This is post-banana.
But yeah,
so
now that they've had the banana,
that's what post-banana looks like.
Well, and that's the thing, with that extra potassium, Reinhardt is able to lift the weight of an entire gorilla. That's the power of the banana in action. So, of course, that is going to be with the home side and Mega Thunder getting that first map pick. They will also get picks 3 and 5 Hong Kong Attitude. Not even Hong Kong Attitude, it's Flash Wolves are going to get picks 2 and 4.
Of course, the team that makes the map pick also chooses the starting side. And Mega Thunder, it's good that they have the home advantage here. They will be able to have an extra map pick, but you got to go the distance to make that count. If you go out 0-3, then it doesn't really matter.
Now, I believe the last time we actually saw Flash Wolves on Ilios, correct me if I'm wrong here, was against Blank in the Season 1 finals on day 2. So we haven't actually seen Flash Wolves on that pick for a very, very long time, but it was an incredibly strong map for Blank when Flash Wolves beat them on it. Last time we saw Mega Thunder play Ilios was as Fireball, and much the same, it was one of their kind of pocket picks all throughout Season 1. And I don't believe it's one they actually played against Flash Wolves specifically, but certainly the precedent is there for Flash Wolves to kind of beat teams who use Ilios as a pocket pick.
And actually, it's interesting you mentioned the last appearance of Ilios for Flash Wolves because, yes, it was against Blank, but they also lost it against Blank. And Ruins were starting out on this. How they lost it was they didn't get the early health pack control with their Sombra. So it'd be interesting to see if they are running the Sombra. Indeed, Sinclair is picking it up.
Actually, you're quite right there. That was my mistake. They did not win that Ilios map. So if anything, actually, that says that there is a real opportunity here for Mega Thunder. I nearly called them Fireball from remember there to go off. And of course, it's the Apudo special for Ruins. They're going to be pulling out a Widowmaker, and that means Flash Wolves kind of have to match it. So they are technically running a quadruple DPS.
And we don't usually see K-Momo onto the Widowmaker. He might bring out a Genji or something like that, but it's a little bit different. The first headshot on the Tequila one, kind of putting Mega behind. Yeah,
they certainly have to duck and cover just while they recover that health, but NZ are now getting good pressure onto Zonda, kind of shutting him out of that one. And that's good sightlines for Apudo here as well. By the way, a lot more squishy members for Apudo to get headshots on. So that means Mega are able to set themselves up on the point just with the sheer numerical advantage and instantly get the cap. That's actually a really good opener for them as honestly, K-Momo needs to be careful here on this low ground against Apudo and is going to go down to NZNR on the flank.
Well, the thing about Flash Wolves is it feels like a high-risk, high-reward kind of gameplay style that they're having in terms of the composition, because they don't have that extra tank, they don't have that frontline pressure. That means they can't contest a point like you usually can. So that's obviously why Mega Thunder can get that early cap control, which is so important for the team.
Right now, it's all risk, no reward. They have got that EMP up, but they need to get a lot done with it. I mean, sure, there isn't the Sombra on the side of Mega to contest those health packs. So Sinclair gets free reign, but honestly, Mega aren't really needing to use them too much. They've got the double healers themselves. They're not needing that extra health.
And this is really good progress now for Mega Thunder. Flash Wolves falling further and further behind. Yes, you have the EMP now. Time to make use of that. They're still waiting for ultimates from other players. Now comes the EMP.
That's the commit, and Sinclair's already too low to follow up on it. NZNR going in with a pulse bomb. Instantly converts, actually. So that's Bacon Jack's pulse bomb is going to be the one who gets Apudo. But White getting a bunch of kills to kind of turn it back around. Zonda finally closing out a kill, but is going to get closed down on himself. These tanks from Mega kind of keeping this one up. They finally started to get some extra kills on the back end here. Flash Wolves may be able to pull this one off, but even then, it's still not a guaranteed thing. Is Mega actually going to reinforce? Flash Wolves can't really go in safely just yet to cap the point.
Absolutely, and there's a big commit out of Flash Wolves as well, and they still haven't actually cap. So this is still progress that's just piling up for Mega Thunder. You've got the sort of resources to get it done. You've got the picks. Now you got to get the cap.
That's what they needed there to close out on that second round of kills there, picking off Elk and White before he could remake. T2 going to go down gracefully, not going to blow that ultimate. They didn't draw too many ults out of Flash Wolves, actually getting a nice response kill on K-Momo at the end there, but Flash Wolves will finally get the cap through off Mega Thunder.
And that is a pretty decent run for Mega Thunder regardless. So despite the fact that in the last two fights, they were kind of bleeding members, they were losing, but they never gave up progress. They're coming up to 87%. It's a big difference between what Flash Wolves have so far. Now for Mega Thunder, get the opening pick with the Apudo again, and maybe find an opening that you could really take advantage of.
They've got that EMP, looking to convert on it, getting right into the back end of it. Really looking for Graceful, actually, as Jongi dives in on him. That is the instant convert. Good trade back onto K-Momo. They close out on Elk as well. Flash Wolves a little lean on DPS, as Zonda and Jongi have to get a lot of work done. But if anyone can, it's going to be those two. Self-destruct to go up sky high. Doesn't catch anyone. And NZNR gets closed out on. A lot of work has to be done here by Apudo if they're going to close this one out on Flash Wolves, and it is not looking like that's going to be the case. Slowly getting repelled, even as they pick Jongi, actually. They want to stick in this, actually. They're going to commit with the sound barrier. They've got a Transcendence that can follow it up, and NZNR will rejoin the fight, but they need to deal with Zonda. There it goes, T2 closing that one out. K-Momo is still a little uncontested on this high ground, but Apudo finally going to be able to get some sightlines on him as they get the cap back over. It's on Flash Wolves to turn it back around.
And absolutely, Flash Wolves need to find the Pixie. They get the first one to NZNR. No support ultimates, no other ultimates from any other players at all. Here comes the overtime now, but it does look like Flash Wolves should cap it on over regardless.
That is a great run of conversions at the back end of that. Flash Wolves actually had a lot of low members, but thanks to those kills are going to be able to secure this cap. But Mega Thunder now really just one fight went away from setting themselves up nicely on Helios.
Absolutely, they're all respawning together as well. This is going to give them a lot of time to set up. Flash Wolves have no ultimates, neither does Mega Thunder. This is probably a little bit favored for Mega Thunder because they can find two fights. They can get one fight. If they lose it, they'll push into overtime and Flash Wolves overtime, and they will still get that fight as well. So for Mega Thunder, a little bit more comfortable, but don't get complacent.
Absolutely fair to say. K-Momo headshotted out by Apudo. That's a great way to start it off, but Graceful getting aggressive on. They convert onto Sinclair as well, but Bacon Jack, Zonda, and Jongi are the real threats of this team. You have to deal with them, and Apudo is out of the picture. Pulse Bomb onto the mech means White is going to lose it before he can get self-destruct. Will not remech either, but they get the cap. That actually puts a lot of pressure onto Flash Wolves. Meteor Strike into the middle of it. Zonda needs to get a lot done. He converts onto Elk, retreats to a health pack just before he dies, and Flash Wolves, they did lose the point itself, but they're going to be able to
Reinforce works as well for Flash Wolves. That was a really crucial cap loss. I mean, Mega Thunder, they just seal it out from under their noses again. That gives them a full reset. Mega Thunder don't have to rush onto this cap. They can come in as a full group.
Oh, 99 to 99, and Apudo the first to go down as Sinclair throws in the EMP again. White just shy of the self-destruct as they convert onto NZNR, and Flash Wolves kind of put the foot on the gas to close this one out after Mega Thunder getting very close to it themselves. Certainly not out of it just yet, but it's going to take a bit of a miracle here from Apudo, and as much much as he is a miracle worker, it's not looking like today is the day as that 99%. Oh, actually, Graceful buys time with the Transcendence. White could just get there and stall it out for T1 to rejoin, and ends it an hours in that as well. Who's on this point? Oh, that was how long the overtime had gone on for there. NZNL was just barely off it, and 99 to 99, but 1-0 up is Flash Wolves.
And all things considered, that was extremely close, and I had to favor Mega Thunder for the majority of that, but what really made the difference for Flash Wolves is, as soon as they had the cap control, they were still running their Sombra. That means they also have the health pack control. If you don't have the cap, then you don't have the health packs, but if you have the cap, then obviously you got the health packs, and what it meant is, guys like Zonda, he never died, because every time he was in trouble, he retreated Seismic Slam directly onto the health pack, and just stayed impactful. And so for the Flash Wolves, despite losing the cap a couple of times, they didn't lose enough members for it to really count for Mega.
And that's the thing, I mean, sounds silly to say, but quadruple DPS means you have to kill 4 people without losing any of your own DPS to really say that you've secured the fight. And now, going to be running Pharmacy.
This is a good read from Mega Thunder directly though, because Apuda started on the McCree, and thankfully, Flash Wolves are running this Pharmacy directly into it, but he has to have impact, otherwise it's going to be Hong Kong Attitude versus AHQ all over again.
It's a nice rollout by Flash Wolves actually to kind of get in behind Mega Thunder's potential positioning. Makes it harder for Apudo to set up, and we're seeing the effects of that a little bit as Flash Wolves are kind of holding all this ground, but Apudo hasn't died just yet, and they do have the opportunity now to get aggressive.
Well, he has to do a lot more than just not die. He has to have impact directly onto Zonda. The Discord Orb helps. That's a good start. But where is the team from Mega Thunder? Because they're all hiding inside this little house with the health pack and no actual presence on the cap.
But the pick on the Jongi will allow them to get that presence on the cap, and there's only so much Zonda can do. He doesn't have those extra tanks applying pressure, but they get a good trade onto T1, and Jongi will rejoin the fight sooner. Pick onto Sinclair, though, means no mercy in the pocket of Zonda, who actually needs to retreat lest he die here. Barely getting out with his life, probably about 1 HP there. But he does get out. Cap goes over the way of Mega Thunder.
Now, Zonda getting out on about 1 HP as well. Look at his health. Just manages to top up the full now. And Mega Thunder, as soon as they got their first pick out, you see their entire team move out of that hut, go into the open space, give Apuda the sightlines that he needs. And this is what he can do. Pressure Zonda out, and Zonda is now stuck.
That's Graceful getting completely aggressive on, but good trade kill onto Sinclair. Again, no mercy in the pocket of Zonda. And they convert onto Realman. They do lose Apudo in the mix, but NZNR is doing work. Bacon Jack similarly so, and this is still really anyone's fight. Zonda, though, still alive and kicking in this one. Even has the Rocket Barrage if need be, but that is going to be the convert by Flash Wolves to cap the point.
I guess the silver lining here for Mega Thunder is the fact that they did cap first, so they are consistently winning these opening fights. That does give them the lead. That's something they can work with. If Flash Wolves had won this entire time, they would be very far ahead of Mega Thunder, so this is definitely Mega Thunder staying in the game.
That Rocket Barrage could be a real swing ultimate here to push out a big lead. And there it goes. But that is a good defense matrix. Sinclair may have to commit the res here. Yeah, trying to get the angle on it. Oh, but NZNL spots it out, and Sinclair was a little too slow to commit to it. Now Flash Wolves throwing in the ults like this Primal Rage and aren't going to be able to get too much for it. Ending up a little bit behind in that economy. Sinclair respawning. K-Momo committing the self-destruct as well so he can buy more time. Means that they could still turn this fight back around if Sinclair wants to come in for a tempo res on Bacon Jack. Mega Thunder not out of the woods just yet. They convert onto Jongi, but there's the rest to come out. Doesn't catch Realman though, and instantly they lose Zonda. Mega Thunder now looking like they may be out of the woods.
Absolutely, and they still got to pick up a few more kills. So there goes the pulse bomb from Bacon Jack though. Gets eaten up, and still the cap goes over to Flash. So I mean, Mega Thunder are not picking up progress here. They need to transfer these kills into actual objective. Finally, the cap.
Yeah, and they had kind of got the lead on that for a while, but you're right. Flash Wolves make it as hard as possible to convert and close out. Mega Thunder really had a marathon fight there and absolutely pulled it off start to finish.
And that was such a good play from NZNR as well. Catching out Sinclair after Zonda went out, that really messed up the tempo from Flash Wolves. Sinclair came in anyway and got the double res. That was probably the mistake from Mega Thunder. They needed to have more kills and more presence when Sinclair was away.
And speaking of res, it's available again as Apudo instantly picked. It is now an uphill battle for Mega Thunder to first get kills and then fight through the res, and instantly Flash Wolves on the cusp of getting the cap. Self-destruct out from White to create pressure. pressure onto Zonda and buy time for Aputo's respawn, but tempo res on Jongi keeps Flash Wolves ahead in terms of the numbers. Aputo only just starting to rejoin the fight now as Graceful out of tranquility, and Aputo instantly going down to the top of it again. Great pressure out of Bacon Jack as they convert the rest of the kills. T2 will finally get Singler, but honestly, unless NZNR absolutely goes off alongside T2, they're really going to struggle here. They actually got a sneaky cap partway through that one there. Flash Wolves never quite got this grab through, and by stalling it out, Mega Thunder will push themselves to the cusp of 99, but it is looking like the fight is lost.
And it's a good stall though, everything considered, because Flash Wolves, they committed extra ults. Realman, Soundbarrier, and Bacon Jack used a pulse bomb. Flash Wolves, it really cost them. And for Mega Thunder, if you're gonna give the cap away, make it cost something expensive to Flash Wolves. That's exactly what happens. Now Mega Thunder got time to work with and some ultimates to boot.
And they're on 98%, which, by the way, in some ways is a bit better than 99.
In every way, in my opinion.
Yeah, because the 99% means the you automatically get, it goes into overtime, whereas with the 98, if Flash Wolves aren't there, it just goes straight down. And Zonda getting picked, no res available yet for Sinclair, but Aputo is down. There's the pick onto Sinclair, but they need to convert a little bit more than just that. Need to pressure out K-Momo. They've got the DPSs, but they're struggling themselves to close out kills. Flash Wolves are making every single kill into a trade, and now they're going to start getting respawns in, but that is a late DMAC on K-Momo, and Jongi has been pressured out, so now Mega a little bit ahead of the tempo, 99. No one's on it. That's Mega Thunder evening up the score in a similar 99-99 situation.
This time around though, for Mega Thunder, they just keep sneaking it from under Flash Wolves' noses. It happened on Ruins, it happens again on Well. So many times when Flash Wolves should not have lost the cap, they just do, and it gives Mega Thunder so many additional opportunities. Despite Mega Thunder making some mistakes in there, maybe not being as quickly as they need to be, they still find the trades. Trades don't really work until you get progress, and then they get the progress and they win the match.
I do just want to point out as well, technically, Mega Thunder have actually won both of the opening skirmishes on these maps so far. Let's see if they can make it 3 for 3, and then let's see if they convert that into a 2-1 win. But at any rate, this is an extremely competitive match between these two teams.
And we are starting to see some of the weapons come out, because you got to talk about the Deadeye. That's one of the ways you get rid of the pharmacy combo. The other one, and effectively, ultimate-wise, has to be the self-destruct. So White's got to hold up his own weight on terms of that ultimate as well.
Zonda again onto the Pharah on this map, and this is a map where the Pharah can have high impact, but K-Momo a little bit too deep in that one, gets demeched and closed out on while they were going deep to find Graceful, and that does make it a bit harder for Flash Wolves to pressure hard, but Mega Thunder do still need to break out of the spot as well. Aputo needs to watch his flanks.
Should be looking for a cap here, because actually Flash Wolves get on first, so despite Mega Thunder picking up the first 2 kills, do not let this one cap over. Aputo dying does not help the case.
They are closing out on Realman and Sinclair though, so Flash Wolves haven't got the cap just yet and are being hard pressure. Zonda is actually having a hard time getting damage on this, while the rest of his team is getting picked off predominantly by T2 and White rather than Aputo. So they're putting a lot of resources to shutting down Aputo, but it's the rest of Mega Thunder that are really doing the work right now.
And that's really important, because that's when NZR needs to step up. That's when T2 and Elkin, Graceful and White, every other member has got to step up. Killing Zonda away from Sinclair, really important, especially when Sinclair doesn't actually have the res down. This is when Flash Wolves, or rather this is when Mega Thunder have to get aggressive, because it's a dangerous moment for Flash Wolves.
It really is. That was a great convert onto Zonda as well. They kind of pushed him out into the middle of nowhere and just got the extra damage. It was going to be hard for him to retreat from there anyway, so good discipline by Mega Thunder to not get too silly in closing it out, but being able to close it out.
So fairly decent sight lines now from Aputo. Maybe a little bit of extra protection is what he needs. You certainly got to peel for this man, because the extra Flash Wolves are definitely going after him.
And also trying to dive hard onto Graceful, but that's the sound barrier out. They don't quite close out on Jongi, but they do take K-Momo's mech out of the picture. There isn't a res just yet, and they need to convert onto Sinclair to take it out of the picture. Without NZNR, it's hard to, but Elk actually secures it as Aputo gets Realman.
So huge.
Yeah, that is a rocket barrage that completely catches no one. Aputo does go down to Jongi, but Mega Thunder still ahead in this fight. Sinclair can come in with a res here, and they are going to buy time for it out of Jongi. But the Transcendence by Graceful on the point is going to make it hard for Flash Wolves to convert anything off this right now. And honestly, Mega Thunder are fight for every single inch of this. Rez finally coming in onto these two members, but Mega Thunder have reinforced, and the self-destruct from White can buy them a lot of space.
And that's a big deal because Mega Thunder once again making it very expensive for Flash Wolves to take this one over. Eventually, Flash Wolves should get the cap because Mega Thunder are losing a lot of members, but the fact that Sinclair had to commit the res, that's a lot of work going in the way of just getting this one cap. Mega Thunder, that's a really big bonus for them.
Yeah, White actually opts to not use the self-destruct. I do agree with that insofar as they hold on to an ultimate. They could have pushed it over that 90% by using the self-destruct, though. It's kind of a neither here nor there thing, but at any rate, 84% already for Mega Thunder. Like we said, really making Flash Wolves work for it.
And the big problem here is Flash Wolves now have to commit the sound barrier. Earlier, they would have preferred to commit this. They prefer to commit the resurrection in this space instead, but once again, they just had to use it in a spot where they probably shouldn't have.
As the pressure out from White, it catches Sinclair. Doesn't get Zonda, but you're happy to get the Mercy instead. That means no res, and they need to convert onto the rest of these members. Zonda does not benefit from that sound barrier. They're trying to again pressure hard onto Apudo, but Apudo is trying to get the pressure back in response as they take out Jongi. Now Apudo still getting a little bit pressured, but not out of this one at all, putting in a ton of work for his team. Zonda now would need to get a crazy rocket barrage, but it looks like the cap's just going to go back over to Mega Thunder.
And this is now dangerous territory once again. You got no support ultimates whatsoever. Both the tanks and the DPS has got to get a lot of work done, and they don't have time to get the work done either. If Graceful gets a Transcendence, this might just be over, and NZR shutting that door.
Two already, and by the way, speaking of time, it is high noon. Apudo getting Zonda even as he goes down to the rocket barrage, and that pulse bomb all but secured the fight. The convert onto Jongi instantly after was phenomenal. NZNR back off the bench and proving that he deserves to be here, as Mega Thunder are going to take the map win on Ilios to kick off this series.
And he's coming up in a really, really big way here. Zonda tried to go with this Pharaoh Pharmacy combo, much in the same way ASU tried to do it against Hong Kong Attitude, and it does seem to parallel that match that we've just seen. Apudo going onto the McCree. He has some good moments there, but you really got to credit NZNR and the rest of the team for really pulling aside him as well, because some big kills, some big moments, shutting down some key players at the exact right times, but it is the macro that I got to highlight to be the most important thing that actually Mega Thunder played correctly.
They really did. That was an exciting series from start to finish. I mean, even as early as Ruins, like actually, Mega Thunder had a huge lead that Flash Wolves had to overcome. They did overcome it, and even then it came to 99-99. Then we had a similar situation on Well. Technically, it was 98-99, which was part of how it was able to be closed out by Mega Thunder, but even then, similarly close, and again, Mega Thunder largely in control of it. But that last one there on Lighthouse was all Mega Thunder all the time. There was that brief moment where Flash Wolves capped in a fight that took pretty much half of the game, and then the closing fight from Mega Thunder was absolutely dominant. That is a real statement made by Mega Thunder, who, need I remind you, are technically currently 7th place, playing against a team tied for 1st.
And the thing is, for Flash Wolves right at the end there, I probably would have favored Flash Wolves ever so slightly to take that fight, but NZR showed up huge. He got 2 picks in a situation when Mega Thunder were probably behind. They might have lost that camp, but they just had everything working for them. They played in a way where this is exactly how Ardiant win their matches as well. They're able to just find these picks, ultimates or not, whether you're ahead, whether you're behind. You get guys like Erster, guys like DM, they just find these kills. And NZR, he's channeling that and he's able to do the same thing.
Yeah, he's channeling his inner Erster. That's a good way to put it, actually. And you also saw the effect of having Apudo and NZR kind of back together, that dynamic duo. Take a look at these replays now. I have a feeling, actually, no, there was one moment where Apudo got a headshot on Game Over, but this was that opening fight that they won, and a lot of it was actually NZNR's pressure. Look at him pressuring out Jongi now. This health pack hadn't actually been claimed yet by Sinclair, which, in my opinion, was a bit of a mistake, given that he was uncontested on the Sombra. And that kind of allowed NZNR to put down all this extra pressure. Every single shot that Apudo did land counted tenfold because they weren't able to recover that health quickly with hacked health packs. All they had to work with was a Lucio, who was kind of working overtime to top up these very scattered members of Flash Wolves.
And I have to remind everyone that actually Mega Thunder, they won every opening skirmish of all of those stages, and that's important because Mega Thunder had such a great lead on Ruins. How did Flash Wolves get back in there? Maybe we'll see it in a replay, but if we don't, Flash Wolves essentially, they were able to overpower Mega Thunder in a situation when health packs really started to count. We're actually getting into this next replay now, where Mega Thunder have already lost that cap. They should steal it. Mega Thunder should steal the cap on through under Flash Wolves' nose at some point, but with the health pack control, with the defensive advantage here, the EMP should be coming out through as well.
And this is something we saw actually quite a lot in these fights that Flash Wolves were winning. the quadruple DPS was a blessing and a curse, and the blessing was that it made it quite hard for the members of Mega Thunder. If Apudo didn't have sightlines, that means only NZNR to close out on all 4 of these DPSs, right? So here you see they've finally killed Bacon Jack, but K-Momo, Zonda, and Sinclair are still in the fight. And actually, NZNR can't go toe-to-toe with all of those members at once. And that was a very common thing that was happening. They'd pick a couple, but actually the rest of Flash Wolves could still put down overwhelming pressure with this help.
So the weakness of the quadruple DPS there is actually you don't have the frontline pressure. That's why a team like Flash Wolves has to back off. They can't face tank Mega Thunder coming in, so they give up the point. So it is also Mega Thunder kind of stealing the point in a situation where I still think Flash Wolves should be contesting that point as much as they can. They give away the camp, but they do get the kills with the superior firepower. It's actually up to Mega Thunder to chase and claim those kills. They haven't been able to. Now let's take a look at Well.
So this is again, Mega Thunder are able to win the opening skirmish, but take a look at this one because it is very different. They're kind of stuck in this room thanks to Zonda with the aerial superiority, and they need to find a way out. The way out they find is, I believe they pick, it's either Jongi or K-Momo. In fact, that is indeed Jongi if I'm not mistaken. That gives them the space because now Jongi isn't applying pressure on the opposite side to Zonda, and members like Tidawat and White can start getting out a little bit more in earnest, and this is what you start to see around the side. Now they can start pushing Flash Wolves and contesting the ground. They take advantage of that and send the flankers around onto the healers. Suddenly the members of Flash Wolves that are still here are there with only 1 tank and no real support. So even though those ultimates were finally coming up for the DPS that could have swung the fight, they were kind of, you know, it was a castle on air. It looked really great and really solid, but there was nothing supporting it underneath. And they were smart to give up the cap at that point, Flash Wolves, but they really had no choice.
And for Flash Wolves, they had the superior area control to start things off with. You can see that Mega Thunder was stuck inside that house, but as soon as Sinclair went down, and he got traded for Tidawat, by the way, Flash Wolves, they were still out in the open. Apudo and the rest of his squad then went out there to meet them with good sight lines finally, and that's how they closed it out as we go into the next replay. A little bit further on in the well stage with 90+%.
This is that 98.
On the side of Flash Wolves, and the cap should go through at some point, and then immediately.
Yeah.
It's just a work.
And that's the thing. You see the effect of that, right? And what caused that was the fact that even though Flash Wolves still had some members up, the kills had kind of been staggered. They'd been staggered on the side of Mega as well, but for the same reason that they were able to get the initial cap, it was because the members of Flash Wolves that were still there had to back off because of the order of kills. They were kind of there without support, and because they'd had to back off, once those extra members that were still stalling the point died, those DPSs couldn't even go on safely. They maybe would have got overtime. Even then, they probably wouldn't have actually got there to contest it. And that's why that went through the way it did. I mean, honestly, that was just well maneuvered by Mega Thunder to deal with the pressure from the Pharah. But now it is going to be Flash Wolves' map pick. And if Ilios is a Mega Thunder special, then Eichenwald is the same for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, they took blank apart on Eichenwald the last time that we saw them, which was only last night. So I'm expecting big things from Flash Wolves in this series, especially on this map. But you got to remember, Mega Thunder took map 1 already. This is a good lead, and maybe even an unprecedented lead that you might not have predicted.
Yeah, certainly they had the ability to, and that's always kind of been a given with this team. Indeed, we have said that on the whole, the difference in ability of all of these teams is much closer this season, but that actually coming to fruition here in Mega Thunder picking up that first map is still a first for Season 2, as much as we have been saying that for these 2.5 weeks just been.
And you actually see the energy from the Mega Thunder side, and this is important because
That's the banana.
The first map victory isn't just about that 1-0 lead. It's about proving to yourselves that Flash Wolves are beatable. Now that you know they can bleed, now that you know it's possible to take further maps off them, and suddenly the victory becomes so much more possible all around.
And by the way, I mean, without wanting to get ahead of ourselves here, it would be incredible if Mega Thunder won this series, not just from the perspective of it being an upset. In fact, I wouldn't even call it an upset. I would just call it a realization of their own improvement as a team and the relative closeness of all these teams in this season. It would be incredible because it would mean Mega do have a legitimate opportunity to make top 4 and get into playoffs, even though they currently sit at 7th place, because they will have actually beaten one of those top 4 teams, which is not something that can be said for Maxi or Liberland.
Well, everything's got to be possible, right? I wouldn't count out Machi yet either.
Certainly
They've still had some really good performances that they can back up. But much like Mega Thunder, who are also sitting at the bottom of the table with Machi, now has to be when you turn it around. If you don't turn it around by the end of the first round robin, you're certainly not going to. You might not have the opportunity to then break into the top 4 in the second round robin. You'll just be out of time.
I still really love this map. I just want to say, Eichenwald has to be my favorite map in terms of just the sheer design. I mean, look at this beautiful, partially destroyed German castle town.
That is just covered in moss,
yeah,
and overgrown weeds.
Oh yeah. But you know what? It's beautiful in its own way.
It's like when you go to a map like Ilios and no one's home, and you're like, well, why isn't anyone home?
Yeah,
you
and
don't
he's
quite know.
pristine house.
But in Eichenwald,
You can understand why.
yeah, you can totally see why.
It tells a story. But this is going to be Mega Thunder out of the gate, and this is something else.
That's a story if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because Flash Wolves are going to struggle somewhat to dive onto this, and I like that Flash Wolves are diving on this early, because if they can stop Mega Thunder from setting up, that's how they can win.
And that is indeed what they've done. They closed out Naputo and then catching NZ and R in the setup. Now this is actually Mega Thunder on the absolute wrong side of this point, and it's going to be a clean sweep. Not too much time lost in that push, only about 30 seconds, but still very cleanly held by Flash Wolves.
That was a critical movement from Flash Wolves, because if they've waited, if they play too passive, Mega Thunder have their positioning, suddenly it's too difficult to break him because they got the shield up, the Bastion set up as well. You're not going to tank that. You're not going to tank the damage from Bastion straight up. So now Mega Thunder, recognizing that it's not going to work, changing completely.
But it is an uphill battle. They say they're playing what you like to call compositional catch-up, just looking at the ults Flash Wolves have. But the kills are starting to come through, even as Bacon Jack converts. But with NZ and R and Naputo both out of the picture, it's looking a little bit too lean for them. And the ultimate's now coming up for Flash Wolves, meaning that Mega Thunder have a bit of a hard time cracking this one from here on out.
And to be fair, it's not quite catch-up in the regular sense, because you change at the opportune time. This is about the only time where you can change and have minimal effects into the overall surroundings of what the economy looks like. Apuda makes another change now as well, so Mega Thunder still just feeling themselves out, but it will be Flash Wolves predictably getting the first ultimates.
Yeah, and they've got some really impactful ones already to pick onto NZ, and now as Bacon Jack goes aggressive, and he's really starting to go off on this Doomfist. Now, Apuda getting a couple of good trades back in, though, that takes the Deadeye off the table as well, so Bacon Jack smartly retreating so that he can live to fight another day. But with that time, he really needs to make something happen, because they lose Realman, and now the pressure is coming in onto K-Momo. Jongi is almost certainly going to have to stall, and there it goes, the Primal Rage to come out for that. Still trying to wait for Zonda to get back, and Apudo kind of in full retreat. He stays alive crucially, but they've bought the time it's going to take for Zonda to get back in. There is that Deadeye as NZ and R good sticky onto Sinclair, but they lose Elk in the Deadeye. So still kind of anyone's fight, really just brawling hard on the point, but NZ and R finally starting to go off. They do need to kill Realman indeed, but like I said, NZ and R going off, and Apudo finding his counterpart in Zonda is going to be the secure of point A for Mega Thunder.
And I don't know if Realman's going to ultimate. It seems like he's not. He just pays it for it with his life. And actually, the target selection from Mega Thunder was so good. The reason he got to kill Realman was because he was so close to Sound Barrier. Sinclair died twice before he hit the Transcendence. If either of those supports stayed alive and used it to save the rest of the team, that would have been a different fight altogether. Flash Wolves could have held on, but Mega Thunder, they just knew who they had to shoot.
Swap on to Soldier here for Zonda, but they're not going to get the ideal setup for it, because Mega Thunder are really keeping the pressure on. Sinclair already getting picked, and that's one of those support ultimates off the table, as T1 is putting this team into disarray. Will be able to successfully retreat. It's not a ton of cart distance, but they've really disrupted what Flash Wolves were looking to do, and Apudo and White both are just keeping pressure now on the time.
And that's very important, because they've now taken the position that Flash Wolves want to take. Flash Wolves actually have a lot of ultimates to play with, but it's very difficult to engage with the kind of composition they're running with it.
There's the big dive in from Jongi, and they do convert. Oh dear, Graceful not in time to save him with the Transcendence. And now the Meteor Strike out of Bacon Jack to get right into the thick of it. Means that they're going to have to use that Pulse Bomb to great effect. Indeed, may just need to take this fight on the chin, because that Sound Barrier keeping Flash Wolves very, very safe, and Sinclair still has the Transcendence for good measure. Good distance from Mega Thunder, but good reclaiming of that high ground by Flash Wolves.
Absolutely. They found the engagement they were looking for by just charging up the front lines. They said it was going to be hard to engage, and it kind of still was. It just wasn't the perfect engagement you wanted from Flash Wolves, but they got the job done anyway, and they still saved a couple ultimates just to boot. And now Zonda is in the position that he's been looking for all of Street's phase.
Is in in that position, but the pressure still comes out from Apudo. That's a good pulse bomb to dislodge Zonda a little. Now he has to go into full retreat as the Deadeye, oh dear, cancelled by Bacon Jack. That is a great pickup for him, and Zonda also staying alive as he was forced onto that low ground. They start to go aggressive and look to beat back Mega Thunder. Zonda's going to have to wheel back to reclaim that high ground here, though. He needs to be very careful against NZNR.
And probably sooner rather than later, because you got a couple picks into Mega Thunder. They will be respawning. And you want to use this time while they are respawning to reclaim the position that is favorable for Flash Wolves. That's exactly what is happening. But now that cart has been stalled up. Mega Thunder, 2 minutes remaining. They got some good progress. They need better progress.
And they still need to fight through that tactical visor. Will have the sound barrier for it, but no Transcendence just yet. Going to be coming up to a bit of an ultimate advantage for themselves over the course of this fight, but Bacon Jack's still going to put down a ton of pressure in the Meteor Strike as well. It's going to try and cut off the column here at Mega Thunder. Indeed, it is a good one. Splits off the supports. That's significant. Forces the sound barrier out from Elk. Bacon Jack doesn't find much more than that, but he is keeping hot on T2's heels, forcing out the Primal Rage, and he's still going to go down for his shovel. That's the Transcendence from Graceful, not in enough time to save T2, nor does it save Apudo as the tactical visor is opened out, and Mega Thunder are all kind of split up. Zonda somehow going untouched from the slow ground and able to avoid the self-destruct. That's only seconds bought by White and no real gain from that ultimate. Cart has still not moved.
And now Apudo's going to go into the third hero of the evening, or rather of Icon One. Might even be the fourth one. I've lost count. Genji. We haven't seen the Apudo Genji for some time now, but hey, Mega Thunder going back to what works. This looks like viable from Season 1 almost. This is what they had a lot of momentum with. Now they need that again. 53 seconds remaining. The cart has been sliding back ever so slightly.
This is exactly how Flash Wolves did it against Blank. All ready to pick on Elk and T2 in a lot of trouble. Transcendence from Sinclair keeps Flash Wolves safe throughout this fight. And honestly, Mega just kind of had to take this one on the chin and regroup ASAP.
And they need to, I mean, ASAP is probably the most accurate way to say it. And even when they do regroup, they're fighting an uphill battle, both literally and figuratively, because Flash Wolves sitting on 4 ultimates here. They might not have the tactical visor from Zonda, but they got just about every other ultimate they could really want, minus the Transcendence. So for Mega Thunder, they need options. How they won Ilios, they got to get some good picks out of NZNR, otherwise I don't see them taking it.
And if they are going to cap that second point, by the way, they're really going to have to win 2, maybe even 3 fights. And already a pick on NZNR. That is one of the crucial things for Mega Thunder to leverage, was that pulse bomb. Now without that, they're really going to struggle here as Zonda on the high ground. No one can really contest him. Apudo trying to get that Dragon Blade up as quickly as possible. Zonda's going to go ahead and commit to the low ground in behind this team as he pressures Graceful. Graceful does get the pick for it, but Apudo now very low, has no healer to fall back to. White loses the mech as Apudo goes down just shy of the Dragon Blade, and that is going to be the holdout for Flash Wolves, about halfway between points A and B there. That is not too bad.
It's a very good position to have the cart held up, and it's certainly a very winnable position for Flash Wolves on their push when they attack as well, because the preferable place for the attackers to actually push with that cart is up to the bridge, and maybe even a little bit further on the bridge, because that is usually, if you're going to get held anywhere on B, that's where you're going to get held. So the fact that they didn't even make it to the bridge, that's a big deal.
It's pretty significant. It'd be a hard ask for Mega Thunder to hold that out. Certainly they could just full hold on point A, and I do want to give them some credit. Yeah, I want to give them some credit. They did cap point A much quicker than what Blank did in their own series against Flash Wolves when they played on Eichenwald, but I mean, the defense that Flash Wolves then had on that Streets phase was much stronger than it was against Blank, so.
And I think it all really started quite poorly, because you look at Mega Thunder, they wanted to run kind of this pocket strategy that maybe Flash Wolves haven't seen before. Flash Wolves reacted about as well as you could have possibly hoped. They got the full team wipe, made the full reset, forced everyone to swap off heroes, and that's when Flash Wolves started to pick up their pace and get themselves ahead. And it never felt like Mega got themselves back ahead after that, despite winning Cap A after getting some very good picks, by the way. They won that through denying the supports on the Flash Wolves side time and time again, but just couldn't continue that momentum onto B.
This is now very much looking like Flash Wolves' opportunity to tie up the series, but it is worth reminding that that would only be tying up the series. Mega Thunder have picked up a map win. We're definitely going to 4 games minimum here, and really this is Flash Wolves kind of needing one on the board. If they aren't able to cap this, then actually Mega Thunder take them to match point already.
You got to consider, if you go the distance, I'm favoring Flash Wolves into this one, because they've been taken the distance by both Machi and Hong Kong Attitude, and this is a team time after time that has proven they got the endurance to make it past all the way.
I think that is a very fair assessment. Zonda going to get a quick pick with the Widowmaker, no such luck, so he will swap off, and I expect the McCree. There it goes. The Apudo is also going to be playing the McCree, kind of the Apudo special.
And Justice ain't going to dispense itself, so both sides are going to be running with that motto.
You know what? Neither will soda cans. You've got to pay money in the vending machine.
That's also true.
Bacon Jack as well onto the Doomfist here, and that is one thing. Without Moffat, we are seeing exclusively Tracer play out of NZNR. It hasn't hurt them, I'm not going to say that, but certainly Bacon Jack's impact was felt a lot more on that Doomfist compared to NZNR's Tracer.
It's been a pretty slow movement so far, just to say that that's when the impact actually starts.
But the trade back instantly onto Bacon Jack and Jongi. T1 does go down for it, but Flash Wolves are kind of in full retreat here. Not quite in disarray, as Realman's going to steer a couple of them to safety. Actually, not quite. The good follow-up is there from NZNR, and that's also going to give them time to get Apudo and T1 back to this team. So they're going to hold off for that first push.
Yeah, they definitely put up the barricade there in front of the Flash Wolves, slamming directly face first. Flash Wolves lose a lot of members there. Mega then pick up the pieces, continue the chase, make sure they kill all the stragglers, stagger out the remaining Flash Wolves members as much as they can, and burn a lot of time off the clock.
Really, the name of the game here seems to be pressure out of Apudo, but that is what Flash Wolves successfully did last time, and it wasn't quite enough. Now also NZNR with this Pulse Bomb could just get a quick pick to instantly swing the tide here, so they have to be very aware of where he sits on the flank. They can't go all in on Apudo. There is going to be the Pulse Bomb out, doesn't catch anyone. Now Flash Wolves have an opportunity to go, but they are still getting very hard pressured by NZNR on this flank, kind of struggling to find their end.
So once again, the timing is important here because both teams are getting the support ultimates at the same time. There's one team that definitely got to come out on top of this. It's Real. Deadeye, there it is.
That is a late sound barrier from Realman as well. Didn't save Jongi, but a good Pulse Bomb catches Apudo before he can get anything with the Deadeye. Bacon Jack, though, down to Graceful in the headshot. Could be all it takes for Mega Thunder to kind of hold this one down pat for now. But Zonda still wants in on this fight as he puts the pressure onto T1. He does get out of it, and White self-destruct and create space. 1-for-1 goes Zonda, picking up NZNR before dying. Jongi also trying so hard to stay in this fight. They may not catch this after all this hard work. Actually, singly getting the kill onto T1 may just be what it takes, but Flash Wolves are really going all in on this one. Mega Thunder, they kind of do want to complete the hold there if they can so help it, but they may just have to give up point A.
I think they're going to have to because they just don't have the members. You can see the silhouettes. They're already pressuring and getting ready to set up for B, and they got to get this done early. If they want to secure B, they have to defend it the same way Flash Wolves did, which is get very aggressive on these gates.
It really came down to that fight there. Both teams quite even. And wow, that's a quick convert onto Sinclair actually out of Mega Thunder. Mega Thunder, you mentioned wanting to go for that early fight, and did they are. Zonda could catch onto NZNR, who was looking a bit too deep for the Pulse Bomb stick, but they're getting good pressure anyway, the rest of Mega Thunder. Ooh, Apudo nearly caught Bacon Jack in the flashbang. That was like mind games. There was this moment where he was like, what? Where did he go? But this is where he went. He went right onto the rest of your backline. Wow. That's the second time for Bacon Jack. Flash Wolves aren't actually getting much distance here, but Mega Thunder are losing the opportunity to get a great setup on the street space.
So this is the issue now for Mega Thunder because they were set up to play that. They were set up to continue playing that because they have the ultimates. They're still losing members. These are very staggered deaths. I'm expecting the card to actually push up quite a fair distance here. And from Mega Thunder, they cannot afford to lose any other members. They've got to be very, very careful and find the right engage because they have the ultimates to do so.
Zonda's got a great angle on everyone with that tactical visor available as well. Good pick onto Jongi though, as Bacon Jack went wide on the Pulse Bomb. It takes a significant ultimate out of the picture, and Zonda smartly is going to abandon that ground.
It's interesting that Graceful is the one picking up the majority of these kills. He's killing Bacon Jack, he's getting Jongi, buying Mega Thunder so much time. Flash Wolves actually want to be the ones really putting the pressure on because they have the ult lead, but they can't find the opening they want.
It's the real carry here. Sound barrier out from both teams, actually. Flash Wolves to do, using it to survive the Deadeye, but it still catches Jongi of all tanky people. Second time is going to go down. That means the Transcendence comes out to Sinclair. Graceful still has his as the zoning comes out from both self-destructs. K-Momo is going to catch someone with it though, unlike his counterpart in white, and Apudo very hard pressured out. Tactical Visor getting a lot of work done to create space, and the Transcendence as well from Graceful didn't really do much to save the team. They're struggling to convert now as it is Flash Wolves opening up. They're trying to go even as best they can, and the stall can still come out of T1, but it needs to come out now.
Graceful, once again, he's the only one really picking up kills. Now this is desperation mode for Mega Thunder. They're still respawning. They still need the picks, but it's just T1.
Graceful amazingly going 1-for-1, and yeah, it is just TD1 and Jongi with his own Primal Rage. He buys the time for the team to come in, and Aputo back onto the Genji here. Pulse Bomb from Bacon Jack catches TD1, but NZNR in equal measure, and this is going to be a battle of the traces. I say that as NZNR dies, but Aputo could still go off, but Jongi, he is the one truly going off to try and secure this one out, and Aputo cannot deflect that Tesla cannon, unfortunately for himself. Graceful, the real MVP of this team. NZNR able to rejoin the fight thanks to it, but not if K-Momo has anything to do with that, and this is now just staggering on from Mega Thunder. It is going to be the cap from Flash Wolves to even up the series.
And despite the double kill pulse bomb by NZNR, despite Graceful getting headshot after headshot onto guys like Bacon Jack, onto Jongi, it's not enough from Mega Thunder to hold on to that cap. It was such a good defense originally from Flash Wolves for them to then set themselves up to get a full cap out on the attack as well. So very well deserved victory on Eichenwald, all things considered.
And it was also a close one. I mean, as much as Mega Thunder, I keep nearly calling them Fireball. It's because NZNR is back, I think. But as much as Mega Thunder got really held up on that Streets phase without getting too much cart distance, they actually nearly held out Flash Wolves altogether. Only about 50 seconds left on the clock when Flash Wolves did cap. And that 50 seconds is like one fight's difference, right? Had that been one extra fight win for Mega Thunder, could have very much been a hold. And I do feel like the real opportunity to hold would have been on that point A, which they nearly pulled off as well. That too kind of came down to this one fight territory. That being said, and this has been a constant theme with Flash Wolves, they do find themselves in that position a lot where it's down to that one fight and they actually consistently win that fight. That's why they are currently tied for first.
Exactly. When it really counts, that's when Flash Wolves take it out. 1-for-1 now tied up in the series. And Mega Thunder have to re-look at their approach as we move into Assault, because for Mega Thunder, they had some good moments there, but ultimately the defense from Flash Wolves, especially on B, that's what really won it for Flash Wolves. Everything else that you want to be able to factor in, Mega Thunder not pushing all the way to the bridge is actually what lost them the game. Because,
ultimately,
yeah, look, they had 1 minute remaining, but that 1 minute could have really made the difference had the card actually needed to push the bridge instead, because then you're in a position where Mega Thunder can actually make a really good hold and maybe complete their defense.
And need I remind you, the distance Mega Thunder got was in only one push, and it was a high momentum push. They got right off the back of the first cap, and then they got repelled and held up constantly. They didn't get any further distance. Taking a look at a replay now, this is actually going to be their first failed push with this Bastion setup. Aputo going down at the top was already kind of disastrous for them. They wasn't over just yet, but then in that next kind of maneuver where they have that moment of being exposed, NZNR was the one who got picked, and from there, really, there was no retreat path and there was no way they could win the fight either.
Yeah, and it's the thing is NZNR died quite early as well. So for half the team, they made it through and they continued to push. The other part of the team didn't. So the half the team that actually made the push, it's too late for them to fall back. And it was only inevitable for Flash Wolves to pick up the remainder of the kills. So it was almost Mega Thunder doomed with their, due to their own demise here. They're fully committed to something that really got picked apart by Flash Wolves. And as previously mentioned, the timing of that was very important, because if Mega Thunder was allowed to set up, this might have been very different.
The one saving grace for them was that it only took about 30 seconds for that to get picked apart, and the reason that's a saving grace is they still had plenty of time. Better that than taking a whole minute to do some long setup play and then having it fail, because you lose so much more time. And what they actually had after that was enough time to change up their team comp once before Flash Wolves had ults. They ended up changing it again after that, and Flash Wolves still only had a couple of ults. So let's take a look at that now, which is more approaching Mega Thunder's successful push through as they had now swapped up to the McCree.
And it still does take them additional minute, and it has, it's not all smooth from them either, because losing NZNR quite early, but we talk about Graceful. He's the one that gets these miracle headshots onto other members. Doesn't actually feel like a miracle because it's super consistent. Zonda picks up, or rather Aputo picks up members as well, and that's the support kills that I'm talking about, because both for Realman and Sinclair, very close to those crucial support ultimates. If they lived, they would have gotten the support ultimates. This could have been very different. On the other hand, both Elk and Graceful pick up their ultimates, and they can use them to secure this attack.
Exactly, and what kind of happened after that initial moment, because Zonda had gone down, as had Sinclair, is actually the members of Flash Wolves that were still alive were a little bit separated. Mega took absolute advantage for that. It is a testament to Flash Wolves' skill, though, that they lasted out for as long as they did and were able to stall to get Zonda back in the fight, for example. But at the end of the day, The picks were still coming through consistently for Mega Thunder. They caught Sinclair again as he reinforced. They isolated Jongi and took him down. They went 1-for-1 with Zonda after he rejoined with the Deadeye. And what ultimately happened is it took maybe 20 seconds longer, but they actually just drew a ton of extra ultimates out of Flash Wolves.
And you definitely see right at the end there, Jongi dying, well not Jongi, Sinclair dying on 98%. You had Realment dying with the ultimate as well. And you probably have to commend Realment for not using the sound barrier there because it would have felt a little bit desperate using it on about 3 members in a losing situation. But the continued pickoffs of the support players, the good target selection, good target priority is how Mega Thunder won that, but they couldn't carry that through onto Streets phase. And that's where the issue is.
Yeah, unfortunately that is the case. They did actually do exactly what they needed to do, but only once, and that was contest that high ground and claim it off Flash Wolves. But Flash Wolves did a great job of pushing that back, and I mentioned that at one point when it did happen. I mean, it wasn't just that it was the fight when they actually kind of had to weather a bit of a storm out of Mega Thunder as well, who had an ultimate advantage. So that was a huge swing fight immediately after that point got capped, and that distance that Mega Thunder got. And I said it just earlier, that distance they got was only off that one turbo play. From there on out, it was all Flash Wolves.
Well, Flash Wolves making a statement there, rounding out the series. So far, 1-1 is the scoreline. Assault comes up next for Mega Thunder, and it will be their map pick. Will it be 2-1 for Mega, or will it be 2-1 for Flash Wolves? Find out right after this break. Welcome back once again to OPC Season 2. We're in the final match of the day with Flash Wolves taking on Mega Thunder. 1-1 so far in the standings, and it has looked fairly competitive so far. Ilios going the way of Mega Thunder, and then Flash Wolves making a statement on Eichenwald.
So far would absolutely be the way to put it, because this is still the matchup that Mega Thunder come into with something to prove. And it's going to be their map pick next, and it is going to be Volskaya Industries that they are opting into. So I wonder if we're going to get a chance to see that dancing robot again.
And that's certainly that's what I'm really looking out for. I'm not too concerned about who wins or loses, but if there's a dancing robot,
the night has been a success.
Then I'm complete. That means I can go to bed tonight happy.
Yeah, exactly. If
At all.
not,
Otherwise, I'm going to be staying up all night.
yeah. Well, I'm going to have to cry myself to sleep. I mean, you've got a different way of dealing with that situation than I do, and I respect that. But ultimately, we need to see that dancing robot again.
And I think, and I think, you know, just going back to the match a little bit here, Mega Thunder absolutely do have what it takes to take it up, because there were moments, even on Eichenwald, even when they were behind, they had some shining moments. What I really commended out of this team was, when you look at Ilios, really strong macro play. When you look at where they were winning on Eichenwald, specifically on that attack on A, despite having that sort of flunked pocket composition, they turned it around. They still managed to cap it out through really good target selection. So they are, at least on a strategical meta level, really understanding what they need to do to win games.
Absolutely the case, but it is still fair to say that the onus is on Mega Thunder here to take down Flash Wolves. The onus is on them to not just have a kind of close showing on Eichenwald, but to have a repeat of what happened on Ilios, which was also close in other ways anyway. They need to be able to consistently overcome Flash Wolves. Doing it once and then forever having the aptitude without the execution just isn't quite good enough. This is still Flash Wolves' series to lose.
I think so as well. Flash Wolves, they're desperate to keep that lead going because they want to compete with Ardian. They will be facing Ardian tomorrow, and they want to be facing Ardian 6-0 to 6-0, not necessarily 5-1 to 6-0.
I just want to say I noticed something just now. Like we've talked about the cars on this map before. I've noticed none of the cars in Overwatch, because there's cars on Oasis as well, none of them have number plates.
Well, in the future, that's just not a thing.
That's very communist. I actually saw a car the other day with the number plate rugby. Nothing else. No numbers, no, just rugby. And I'm like, who did you kill to get that number plate in this country? Like, that's the guy. He's the one that got the number plate rugby. I felt kind of honored to have seen it.
Yeah.
He was also driving a really, like, gross-looking model of BMW, like the one with that kind of curve on the bottom that looks like a fat person sat in it. I really don't like that car, so I was actually kind of disappointed, but I have seen the number plate rugby.
I'm still waiting for that one, but the best
I can
one
show you where he lives.
The best one
as weird as that may sound.
The best one I've seen is no aim, but hopefully that's not the case for either of these two teams.
That would be a pretty great one, and yeah, it is going to be Mega Thunder opting to defend first. So Flash Wolves once again out the gate with the Doomfist on Bacon Jack, and ends it now sticking to the Tracer. See if he's able to go off once again. They pick Sinkler early, and actually Zonda getting very pressured out. And by the way, triple DPS out of Mega Thunder.
And it seems to be working so far. Flash Wolves are now going to be falling back. The only issue here is that Mega Thunder not going to pick up any additional kills. So Flash Wolves, they will be able to run back with the tails between their legs, reinforce, reset up for the next fight. 40 seconds burn off the timer so far.
Yeah, which isn't too much time, but it's going to really be a quarter of their time gone by the time they're properly in place for this next push. And all Mega need to do is just have a repeat performance, and then the ult economy is up. In fact, they've already got the EMP.
Well, that's important because the EMP is what's going to set everything up. A good EMP,
that's a quick
and
pick.
it hasn't even used it yet. We've already got a kill onto Zonda.
And
expect
Sinkler.
more kills to come out.
That's already the fight as good as one for Mega Thunder. That's a good pick onto Graceful, but honestly, Flash Wolves should probably take this one on the chin. Mega Thunder do need to put the pressure on to close it out. And Bacon Jack is making it hard for them to do that, as hard as it possibly can be. But with these late kills coming through in favor of Mega Thunder, they should be able to reinforce with Graceful and Enzo.
And the late kills are really important because you need the time for Graceful to come back. Had Flash Wolves actually just respawned and gone back to their own base, they might have been able to reinforce before Graceful comes back. Now Apuro doesn't have the EMP. This is when the tables have turned.
Yeah, that was very quick movement by Flash Wolves. to recognize that brief window before Graceful was back, and they instantly capitalized. Bacon Jack totally goes off. That one pulse bomb kill not going to be enough to turn it back around, and Aputo's smartly going to hold on to the EMP. They still had a little bit more time, but they know that this is as good as done.
And that's all it took. You just need one rocket punch on the correct member, take him out of the fight, deny that one ultimate, and suddenly Mega Thunder, they have to give up their entire A. Everything was working in their favor until they lost to Aputo.
I would say, though, that Flash Wolves don't have a huge opportunity to snowball, and Aputo on the Sombra can really keep them on lockdown with good EMP cycling. So see now how Flash Wolves Breakpoint 2 ended and are in a bit of trouble.
Well, the EMP has to be important, right? Because if the EMP doesn't connect with enough targets, if you don't get enough kills off the EMP, then actually Flash Wolves can cap out, or at least get a couple of ticks.
Flash Wolves have not relented on the pressure either. There's only so many health packs that you can fall back to. Elk and Zonda both with the tactical visor, but it's Elk who converts, as that was blocked up by White. Nice movement by him, and that should be all it takes for Mega Thunder to stabilize off this one, as Flash Wolves have very much committed to the point. Aputo did commit the EMP in among that as well, and it's already nearly back up to it. Hey, Jongi.
Yeah, no bananas for him this time around. Late spawn, or late respawn rather, going back, and that was extremely important for Mega Thunder because that was a risky fight. Flash Wolves came in with a lot of ultimates. You can tell 3 ultimates didn't get used out of that. 2 did. The other 3 blocked out. The EMP managed to hit enough targets. The big one was White blocking out Zonda, but Elk picking up 2 kills on his own tactical advisor. And now we're going to be in EMP territory once again.
Effectively, this fight is the same as the last one, though, where the ultimates are pretty much even, but Aputo looking to try and cut off the backside of this team with an EMP. And look at that positioning of
I think that's greedy.
He's doing that to follow up on Singly. Yeah, greedy indeed, but it has paid off so far, but ends at an hour in full retreat. Oh, barely getting out of that as the Meteor Strike comes on through. And they convert him to Bacon Jack with a 6 sleep dart out of Graceful. Ends at an hour. Keeping the pressure on means Flash Wolves have to retreat, and they ultimately just lose a minute.
The problem with that is, despite the fact that he killed Sinclair, if Bacon Jack didn't also die, Flash Wolves had a chance to counterplay there because they didn't lose any other ultimates. It wasn't the kind of EMP that blocks out Realment from Sound Barrier. Not the EMP that blocks out either K-Moment or Jungle from using their ultimates either. So actually for Flash Wolves, they kind of successfully dodge EMP in a way.
In a way, you're quite right. But it is going to be back up for this next fight. Aputo already going in for this flank on the back. Liners here has set up the translocator back in his own team, though. He's not going
and off the map.
Hello, accidentally steps off the map. That means the EMP is kind of out of the picture. Big window now for Flash Wolves, and they instantly go. They already pick out T1, force the self-destruct out of White so he can stall for time, and Graceful is dead, so no nano boost. White barely able to get back in the mech. Aputo does rejoin the team, but he needs to get a good EMP that they follow up on. Trying to close out now on Bacon Jack as he closes out on Aputo, and Bacon Jack is still alive. Soundberry now is going to save his Bacon Jack. And that's going to be the first third cap up already for Flash Wolves. And they've still got more to go on here with this Transcendence saving the team's lives. Realman, the only counter trade so far for Mega Thunder. And this should be the second third. Actually, good EMP from Aputo. And Enzedenar can follow up on it. But they're struggling to get the angles. And Bacon Jack fishing out Enzedenar in the middle of all that. Mega Thunder, who's there to contest? No one stood on the point.
They didn't have anyone. That's the biggest problem. They only had 2 members alive. Even though the EMP came out, they couldn't get the counter trades. They were still losing members inside their own EMP. So of course, when time came that someone needed to actually contest the camp, no one was really alive. That was just 2 members, and they weren't anywhere close. Even if they had, they would have died to Flash Wolves, who were so set up to take that victory. Both supports had ultimates. Aputo got, sorry, not Aputo, but Zonda got so many kills on the tactical visor. A 180 from the last time we saw that event happening, where Elk was the one that got the tactical visor kills and not Zonda.
And that was really nicely handled by Flash Wolves. I mean, this has started to become quite a common theme on these second point of assaults. Once the team gets themselves set up enough on that second point, if they've got the kills and they've got the stagger in the right kind of way, it becomes quite easy for them to close it out. You've just got to kind of keep juggling. It tends to be in either 2s or 3s. And if you can keep juggling these respawners as they're coming out, killing the ones that arrive at the point, and then having the team continually fighting at a numbers disadvantage, it is easy to close out in that single push. But credit to Flash Wolves for setting up that closeout in what had actually been an even fight in terms of ultimate.
Well, Flash Wolves won A and B in the same manner, which is they found Aputo, they took him out. In the second case, it was actually Aputo somehow falling off the map. I actually don't know what happened there. Maybe Jongi actually knocked him off. Maybe Komomo knocked him off, and they just weren't credited in the kill feed either. either way, Aperta wasn't there. He respawned, died with the EMP again in a crucial moment where he probably really needed to get the EMP out there, and suddenly by the time he respawned a third time, the rest of his team was dead. The EMP did come out, but far too late.
I actually saw what happened, by the way. He translocated back to safety, stepped back so he could go towards a health pack, and actually ended up just stepping right off the map. So I wonder if maybe he tossed out the translocator and actually misjudged where it had landed. That seems to be the most logical explanation, but...
Well, it's a big area that I'm sure will be weighing up on his mind, and you got to think back onto A as well, because A looked perfect right up until that big rocket punch from Bacon Jack landed.
Quick movement and setup by Mega Thunder here. Going to be running no triple DPS on the defense here, Flash Wolves. Standard 2-2-2 with the Sombra of their own here. And no Doomfist.
This has to be Flash Wolves trying to stall for as long as they can get the EMP up, and then they can get the victory. If they lose members now, it'll be really hurtful.
This is really good pressure onto Mega Thunder, but it's not quite making them break just yet. They've kind of weathered this one, but are struggling to break out of this room and set up their position.
And that's important for Flash Wolves because you're containing Mega Thunder. You're not allowing them to set up anywhere. Don't give them any sights. Don't give good angles for Aperta to work with. And this is exactly what Flash Wolves need to do to be able to win.
As full retreat from T2What does get back to safety, which is crucial. And actually now Mega Thunder going on the attack here into this tiny little space. They pick out Jongi, who wasn't able to get that health pack, and Zonda as well. That is huge for them as they convert onto Bacon Jack. Totally popping off there, Mega Thunder. And even if they lose someone here, they have secured this one and aren't even going to lose anyone. That is just shy of a gong. It was actually a full wipe had Jongi not just respawned. And that will be a 0.8 cap.
Absolutely, and it's patient as well, and they got it super cheap because they didn't spend any ultimates. I guess neither did Flash Wolves, but it does seem like when you kill the Sombra before the EMP comes up, especially in those opening moments, that has been what secures A for both teams. Now it's difficult because both teams are in position to both attack and defend this one. Huge ultimates on both sides.
Yeah, Mega Thunder, real opportunity to snowball, and they waste no time going in with the sound barrier, but the EMP comes out from Zonda. They do trade it back, but they're lacking NZ&R. Aperta's going to need to get a big tactical visor, and Jongi has got that Primal Rage running. Graceful getting picked out by said Jongi. White does trade one back, but already Mega Thunder going even, as we know, tends to not be good enough to overcome the defenders, and Jongi getting one extra kill off the back end, closing out an Aperta as well. And that's going to be Mega Thunder getting repelled.
Certainly not. NZ&R dying at the start didn't help them out at all. They had double support ultimates to keep themselves in the game. The way they were going to win is live through the EMP, kill Zonda during the EMP, which they did, but then keep their own members alive using both support ultimates and then sustaining through the reinforcements of Flash Wolves. That would have given them a minimum of one tank.
Graceful is going to opt onto this Ana instead of the Zenyatta as well. Interesting option there, and they are going to have to weather out some ultimates here from Flash Wolves before they can really go in with any kind of favorable position here in Mega Thunder.
Mega Thunder need opportunity to charge ultimates because Flash Wolves, they're still in a really commanding position. They have at least one support ultimate to keep themselves in the game. They have the EMP to engage with as well, and this is the engagement we're talking about.
Ooh, Zonda
not quite
able
yet
to find it. Yeah, has to go back with the translocator, but Bacon Jack gets a good stick. Actually, I think that was maybe defense matrix out. Zonda just barely converting as he is super low with that EMP out. Very knife edge, but they close out the two crucial members of Mega Thunder who did have ultimates, so Flash Wolves will be able to hold out this defense again.
And didn't quite get as many kills as you'd like to see from an EMP. That just gives Mega Thunder a little bit of extra breathing space, allows them to sort of regroup quicker with their team as well, reset up for that next attack. And now for Flash Wolves, this is a timing window that Mega Thunder can work with. There's a sleeping monkey there. That's Jongi just waking up. That's a rude awakening.
It's a hard one to follow up on though because of where he was, and K-Momo doing a good job of covering his fellow tank there. NZ&R getting picked out by his counterpart actually means Mega Thunder just going to have to pull back and lose a bit of time.
And this is time they can't afford to lose because they had a timing window where Zonda didn't have EMP. Now they're going to play in the EMP again. Synchro's going to be on the Transcendence. It just gets harder and harder for Mega Thunder, who still don't have ultimates of their own to really work with.
NZ&R actually committed his pulse bomb in there and had one of the few ultimates available. I mean, you can't blame him for it, by the way, but it's one of those things where just
look at Zonda, that's great position.
Yeah, it's really great positioning. Actually, doesn't have the translocator set up anywhere right now, by the way, so this is a risky EMP. Goes in for it anyway. They instantly convert onto the immobile NZ&R and T2What as well. Good trade back onto Jongi, but they're going to need a lot more than that, and they don't really have anything to do that could do that for them. They don't have the ultimates available. Bacon Jack going hard on the follow-up.
And killing Jongi was a good consolation prize, but realistically, they don't get anything out of that. For Mega Thunder, at a minimum, you wanted Flash Wolves to commit more ultimates. The EMP comes down, cool, you kill Jongi, force Flash Wolves to overcommit on ultimates, and suddenly put yourself ahead. But actually, Flash Wolves still sitting on 5, Zonda nearly making it 6. And Mega Thunder, they've been looking for this opening the whole game. They might find it out because they have 6, but they're also playing into 6.
They're finally through the choke point where Zonda has been catching them with EMPs, but yeah, it's going to be 6 ults on 6 ults here. If they close out on Zonda, though, they could change that around. The Tactical Visor and Nano Boost to try and do that, but there's the EMP out now. Zonda, though, able to retreat. They do pick out T2 with the self-destruct and pick White Smack as well, who is able to commit no such self-destruct of his own. And Flash Wolves again beat back Mega Thunder.
And when you look at a situation where both teams have even ultimates, whether that's 5 on 5 or 6 on 6, it always favors the defense because they can always respawn and reinforce much more effectively than the attackers can. So for Mega Thunder, again, that was their big fight. It was also the big defense for Flash Wolves, but time is, of course, absolutely running out. You're not going to get the same time as Flash Wolves now. Now it's about capping out altogether.
Yeah, exactly. You've lost the opportunity to play.
That's an opportunity.
That is indeed that opportunity to get that full cap out. They need to convert, though, and Zonda will be able to respawn. We'll also get the EMP during this fight. They need to convert quickly. They don't have too many resources either. Opting into a Mercy to try and get tempo reses in this fight, but Apudo already down means they are struggling to convert already as Bacon Jack retreats safely. White makes some space for them, but they're not getting the extra kills through, and Elk and Graceful getting picked means once again, Mega Thunder are going to be repelled by Flash Wolves.
And they've only got 2 minutes to make this composition work as well. One good res could be all you need, or you can get shut down as well. One EMP landing on Graceful could spell the doom for Mega Thunder, and every single time Flash Wolves has had the tools to make sure they repel Mega Thunder, and Mega Thunder is still looking for an opening. They're still looking to find, is this the correct composition? Do we have the right tools to take this on?
And as much as killing Zonda was a window for that last fight, they were actually quite far away from the point and hadn't fully respawned and regrouped either, so it wasn't really a window they could capitalize much on.
Yeah, certainly not, but the window does close very quickly. 1 minute 30 now. Ultimate still on the side of Flash Wolves, none on the side of Mega Thunder, and it might all end very quickly, and it certainly does look that way.
The pressure is just so overwhelming. Mega Thunder, I mean, their healers are having to work overtime here, and indeed are getting picked off themselves. It just seems like they're constantly getting shut down before they can even get the fight started themselves.
And Graceful dying here is probably the biggest thing that is affecting Mega Thunder in terms of when you look at the when you look at the ultimate comment of the game. We really play the meta game. You play the macro game. Graceful needs to be up as long as possible just to get that res, because the res is probably the only thing that might give Mega Thunder the win here. One big good time res, and I'm not even talking about tempo here. It's got to be value.
It's got to be big value, and it's got to be after a lot of ultimates out of Flash Wolves. By the way, speaking of ultimates, we haven't said much about it, but NZNR gets really shut down by that EMP.
Absolutely. I think the whole of the Mega Thunder side has been shut down by the EMP as the biggest weapon on the Flash Wolf side, which has been evident because Zonda has had the EMP most fights, and the fights that he hasn't had it was when Mega Thunder get a little bit of leeway, but certainly still can't get a win off it.
And there it goes straight in with the EMP. No one did just yet. There's the Rocket Barrage to convert on Jongi, but he goes down. They need to get a good res soon. They're going to go for the tempo one and instantly lose T2. The self-destruct doesn't find much for K-Momo, and he will not remake either. So they've got a bit of an opportunity now, still just barely. Apudo having to stand a long way back because of the threat of these members like Bacon Jack, who is converting onto these healers. And it doesn't matter that Apudo closed out on Bacon Jack because they are just too lacking on members. It would be a miracle for Mega Thunder, and it doesn't look like today is a day of miracles for them as NZNR gets picked. Apudo shut down by Zonda. No such value res to come through, and it is the last man, T2 alone on the point. Hacked for good measure, and now completely dead to rights. Flash Wolves going to secure the Volskaya Industries map and put themselves 2-1 up at match point.
And B is the letter for Flash Wolves to work with today, because on Iconwald, this is where they make their stand on the second point. On Volskaya now as well, they just are impenetrable when it comes to this B defense, whether they're favored or not, because on Iconwald, not necessarily favored on B, especially not when they're holding so aggressively, but they just know exactly how to play this, exactly who to target, when, what the timings are, where the advantages are. And actually the best fight that Mega Thunder had was 6 ultimates versus 6 ultimates, and that isn't even them being ahead, that's just them being equal.
Mega Thunder did actually hold out on the point A defense for quite a long time. Indeed, I think just slightly longer than what Flash Wolves held them out for, and that could have actually been a saving grace for them potentially. indeed would have suggested that had it gone to time bank in that overtime just there was still the opportunity for them to try and full hold on point A and go to a tiebreaker on golden point. But once again, we keep coming back to the situation where you can call it close for a lot of reasons, but Flash Wolves are getting it over the line consistently every time it seems really close.
And that is 2-1 now in terms of score. And the first map going away to Mega Thunder, that isn't something that's too surprising because whatever it is so far for Flash Wolves in Season 2, the map that they do drop is usually the first one, if any map at all.
Yeah, well, with the one exception being against Liberland, who picked up the second map, which was King's Row in their series, but you're quite right there. And I don't know, it's this interesting thing. And by the way, that Liberland series, I felt like we would have to say a lot of the same here. Was close in a lot of places, but Flash Wolves were always getting it over the line. I have felt like this one against Mega Thunder has been closer, but in any case, Mega Thunder now are facing the situation Hong Kong Attitude faced just a moment ago at match point. Let's take a look at some replays.
This could be the one where Aputo gets taken out. This is very important because Zonda dies early. If I'm not mistaken, okay, it's got to be after this. So Bacon Jack and the rest of his crew, they do get fully reset. And it's good that Aputo saves the EMP here because you don't want to be overcommitting. You don't want to be using things where you don't want to. Graceful ends in a die. That's not a big deal. The reason it's not a big deal is actually because there are still kills coming from Mega Thunder onto the other side. And we're not going to see the Rocket Punch play just yet. Maybe it comes up in another replay, maybe it doesn't.
It was a bit later,
but after that is what actually made the difference for Flash Wolves. And I think you're correct because you mentioned had that A defense continued on longer, it might have made a difference, and I think it would have.
Exactly, that's the thing that actually repelled them a number of times, and that includes Bacon Jack. But you're completely right as well, and you said it during the game. The nature of Doomfist is such that one great rocket punch that catches someone, especially someone like Aputo, who, by the way, should never have been standing where he was when Bacon Jack caught him, that can just swing the game entirely, especially when it's someone like in that particular situation, Aputo, who had the EMP. That was the only major tool they had. That EMP would have completely turned the tables there on Bacon Jack, because suddenly without that mobility, the Doomfist is really just a sitting duck.
And I think if anything so far that we've learned in this series is timing is very important. You look at Eichenwald, how did Mega Thunder push on through that A? They found the timings, they knew the target selection there, killed the supports before the ultimates when the supports become really relevant. This time around, it was Flash Wolves killing Aputo before the EMP can come up, and Aputo had the EMP. That was just unfortunate. Now we're going to go into the next replay.
So this was their own defense here, Flash Wolves. So Mega Thunder, they do start to push through on the offense here. I think it may actually be the one after this where they capped, or maybe it is indeed this one. In fact, yes, it is this one if I'm not mistaken. And there was a lot of jostling going around here. They were very much contained in the room on the opposite side of the point. So this was where they actually committed hard. And I think it actually took Flash Wolves a little bit by surprise. After doing such a good job of containing Mega Thunder, they kind of let off the pressure for a little bit to reset themselves. And that was Mega Thunder really taking that opportunity and running with it, which was a very good recognizing of that opportunity by them, and then also just really great execution.
Well, the tables were turned, right, because you, like you mentioned, it was Flash Wolves containing Mega Thunder, then suddenly the opposite thing happened, which was then Mega Thunder containing Flash Wolves, and Flash Wolves couldn't, they kind of just buckled under the pressure, despite having the health pack advantage there, and Zonda never got that EMP up during the A, and Mega Thunder never used an ultimate during their A attack as well, so they had the momentum to push on through into B, but they couldn't get it done. If memory serves correct, they lost someone quite early on in that B push. They could just never really push it through the way they wanted.
Yeah, and it was a couple of times that they lost someone early. But once again, it's worth mentioning that actually, had it not been for the one pick that Bacon Jack got on Aputo when they were making their own offense, Mega Thunder could well have full held. Mega Thunder's own offense.
Well, they did that to Hong Kong Attitude.
They were stopped up once when they were kind of contained in the room, but it was only stopped up. They didn't lose members. They just weren't able to get aggressive and take any ground, and then were able to make an aggressive move anyway after that sort of initial minute of jostling about. So on the whole, point A, way better for Mega Thunder than it was for Flash Wolves, but it was the point B that counts. So again, we go back to Flash Wolves being the ones who got it over the line.
All right, when the next map pick does come up, Flash Wolves taking Dorado. They're looking to close this one out 3-1, and as we get through this series, it was, of course, Mega Thunder winning map 1, but as soon as we got into map 2 and after map 3, Flash Wolves looking stronger and stronger.
And this is, like we said, exactly where Hong Kong Attitude found themselves last series, where at the end of game number 3, they were facing down match point. So Mega Thunder, in that same situation, having not picked up a win since that first map, need to pick up Dorado now just to keep the hopes alive, and they will be able to go back to their own pick for that 5th map if they get there.
Yeah. A concern has to be said again for Mega Thunder. What was their weakness on Icon? Well, they failed to get that cart push past a certain point on B. I'm expecting Flashwolves to get quite aggressive on that defense again to really stall up the cart in terms of Mega Thunder. So that has to be where they have to prioritize in terms of objectives.
Pudo's just really feeling the after effects of that banana. Just there. I mean, it's just a great feeling, you know, when you've got all that nutrition coursing through your veins.
So much nutrition.
I don't even
know,
in a
dude.
single banana. You would not believe the amount of nutrition. It
I'm pretty
is
sure it
the
was only
charts.
I'm pretty sure it was only Tita what they had the banana, but
Apparently bananas have like a trace amount of radiation in them actually. I'm trying to remember the number. It's something like if you ate 10,000 bananas, you would receive a lethal dose of radiation.
well, it's
By
like,
the way though, I think if you ate 10,000 bananas, you'd probably have died of other complications too.
well, you know how chocolate's poisonous to most animals. If a human being ate 20 kgs of chocolate in one go, you die.
Yeah,
So.
technically it's poisonous too.
Also, if you ate 20 kgs of anything in
Yeah.
one go, you'd probably
Actually, a better example of that is actually chilies, because I mean they've developed that spice as like the thing that we love about them is actually their defense mechanism, and it's enough to kill a lot of other animals, but not us. So we're like, yes. So basically, the spice that you're tasting when you're eating a chili is literally the chili trying to kill you. And your body overcomes it. And this is a real thing. After you get past that spice, the reason we like eating chilies is your body literally releases endorphins. So after surviving the deadly plant, your body's like, that was awesome. Man, I love plants.
Nature's crazy. I don't know.
It's literally a spicy defense mechanism. And this is, well, speaking of chilies, here's Mexico. I don't know, that was an unfortunate segue. At any rate, it is going to be Flashwolves opting onto that defense for their map pick, and this is an
Graceful starting on.
But they're all dead. They're all too low. They can lose.
Something
Tiduan
else.
Aputo's pressured out. There's only the one healer, and it's just a Lucio. They were like all on about 10 health after only about 5 seconds.
Well, I think Flashwolves handled that pretty well because they noted the aggression straight out the door from Mega Thunder. And by the way, Mega Thunder ignored the card, so they prioritized getting the kills. Unfortunately, they got neither.
Yeah, to say the least. Ended are trying to get a bit of distance on that. And actually now, these members that are kind of still here are able to get aggressed upon by Flashwolves. So they're going to take advantage of this, and instantly Mega Thunder going to change up the team comp.
Yeah, this is starting to look like Icon World a little bit here, where after one failed team comp, and it does make sense you guys are going to change it up, but you are now behind an ultimate charge. Still though, you do have to focus on the cart here. Eventually Flashwolves get the first ultimate. The question is when and how they're going to use it.
Tiduan's getting really hard pressured here. Flashwolves have actually recognized how much playmaking potential Tiduan is bringing to the side of Mega Thunder. And they're doing a really great job of shutting him down. And now you can see with him dead, they can actually safely catch out these DPS members like Caputo.
Jongi is respecting Graceful as well. He ate a lot of headshots on Icon World and other maps, so this time around, not going to fall into that same trap again. Flashwolves, we mentioned the ultimate charge, now about to show onto 3. Still the cart hasn't made it to the archway just yet.
Yeah, really struggling to get the momentum on their side here, Mega Thunder, and now going to be fighting through some pretty tough ultimates to beat. Zonda will be able to use this tactical visor, especially if he can regain this high ground, and NZNR with the Pulse Bomb is already off the table for Mega Thunder. Even with the closer respawns here, they're struggling to make any headway because they're just not getting any counter trades. Flashwolves kind of going all in on ultimates, maybe committing a few more than was ultimately necessary, excuse the pun, but it pays off, and Mega Thunder, like I said, struggling to make headway.
And that was a full 6 kills as well, just minus the gong. But hey, at least the cart did actually push through push through under the archway. So this is going to open up some angles for Mega Thunder to play with. And certainly for Flashwolves, you can't afford to make this defense last too much longer if the cart is pushed up.
NZNR just really getting pressured by Bacon Jack, barely able to get out of that one. Graceful committing the Transcendence. Tiduan's actually closed out on Bacon Jack, so that's an opportunity, but they know that they're about to get pincered in on, which means they are struggling to commit to the card itself. They need to pick up more kills. Elk is already picked off, and NZNR as well. That means no sound barrier for them. That was the only defensive ult they had. They need to use this Primal Rage to buy time. Aputo's got to get a lot of work done here as well. Does get Realman, gets K-Momo as well. That's a good way to go. Catching him before he can remech. K-Moment does destroy Whitesmack, but actually, for the first time, Mega Thunder are finally on the way with momentum on their side. Bacon Jack does have something to say about that, though. It is not over yet for Mega Thunder.
And certainly not for Flash Wolves because they're still coming back in. Ultimate's still being committed in. Sinclair absolutely doesn't want to give it up. And as soon as Zonda gets back, expect the tactical visor, and that just might be all Flash Wolves need.
It may just be, but if Mega Thunder can convert off the back of those double defensive ultimates, then it's not going to matter. But it is indeed not going to go that way as Flash Wolves reinforce and pick off so many members, and there's the tactical visor that closes it out at the end there. You're quite right there, Avril, but that was so close for Mega Thunder. But the fact that they were 2 defensive ultimates for 1 and couldn't convert kills should tell you all you need to know.
To be fair, the tactical visor only got Whitesmack. Everything else was the other members. Jongi, Bacon Jack, they did the real work while Zonda was getting kited away. Most of the tactical visor was outside of Cap A. It was during the streets while he was being chased around. So actually for Mega Thunder, now severely running out of time.
By the way, for the first time this game, they have an ultimate advantage, but they need to get something out of those ultimates. They're 2 very hard ultimates to leverage in that pulse bomb and self-destruct. Bacon Jack now having one of his own. Tosses it out casually in Elk's general direction, but doesn't quite catch him. Self-destruct from White gets good pressure down, as Bacon Jack dies to his counterpart. They need to convert the kills, and that is not happening here as Bacon Jack is sitting safe while all the DPSs of Mega Thunder just keep getting picked off one by one. The trade kill onto Realman doesn't mean anything for Mega Thunder. And again, even with the closer respawns, there is no one here to extend the overtime save for NZNR, who is at risk of dying as he does so and isn't going to be able to recontest a second time as Zonda takes him out. That was a very convincing hold from Flash Wolves.
And suddenly the nightmare scenario becomes a reality for Mega Thunder because we thought it was bad on Eichenwald with the car barely pushed up, not even making way to the bridge, but actually now into Rada. We haven't capped A yet. This is so winnable for Flash Wolves, and for Mega Thunder, you got to be pulling out all the stops if you want to make anything happen.
It's going to be a hard ask. I mean, on the whole, Flash Wolves' defense was just demanding. I mean, I get your comparison, by the way, to Eichenwald and what happened on the initial attack from Mega Thunder. But the thing that actually shocked me the most was before Flash Wolves had even spotted it out, everyone just took so much damage going out of the base, right? It's just like the base gates opened and Flash Wolves threw damage in that general direction because there was only one healer and it was only a Lucio. All these members of Mega Thunder were barreling towards Flash Wolves with like 25 health apiece, and all sort of had this extra moment of hesitation that totally cost them. I mean, if it had have worked, it would have been explosive and we would have gone, man, that was incredible, but it just felt way more risky than was necessary.
And the issue is, Flash Wolves now apparently are a team that is very hard to surprise. They know exactly what may or may not happen, and if it does happen, they know how to correctly respond to that, as evidenced now 2 out of 2 times where Mega Thunder wanted to make a pocket play that was a little bit unconventional, it hasn't worked, and Flash Wolves have responded correctly. It's like, Flash Wolves would be a very difficult team to give presents to at Christmas.
Exactly.
It's hard to be surprised.
Like, you give it to them and they're like, oh, let me guess, triple DPS with a Pharah, and you're like, what do you get the man that's got everything? How do you beat the team that's got it all?
You stop trying to surprise them, to be honest. You give them what they're expecting, but actually the surprises all coming out of Flash Wolves this time around.
Yeah, a Junkrat, why not? Preparing for the next patch, I think that this is going to be a swap off, as will be Bacon Jack's Hanzo pick there. Was both for scouting purposes. Maybe not, it is going to be a Hanzo and a Mei.
Well, they want to do something different here, and if they can win off this, it'll be very interesting. I'd like to see how Mega Thunder approach this first archway. They don't have a very aggressive team, but they have a very tank-heavy lineup that actually Zonda can counter out very effectively with well-placed walls.
And there's your first one. They're really struggling to get the sidelines now. It's NZNR gets picked off by Sinclair. Already it's looking rough for Mega Thunder. They've actually not stopped up the cart, by the way. It's only not moving, but the Flash Wolves have abandoned it to get aggressive. And yes, it's a good wall separating out Mega Thunder. They don't convert the kills just yet, but in having to pull back and retreat, Mega Thunder give up space, and now it is down to the wire.
And that is really difficult because no one has ultimates just yet, so everything that counts just comes down to individual mechanics and coordination.
They're really struggling to get an in here, and every time Flash Wolves finally kind of get aggressive on, they just back right up. Already the pick comes through onto Graceful now. The sound barrier is there for Mega Thunder. They're desperately trying to get these crucial ultimates charged up. They need a clutch Graviton or maybe a tactical visor. They do convert onto a Pluto just barely as the Transcendence comes out of Sinclair. As they lose T to 1. There's the Graviton at last, but everyone's just dead. Apudo trying to close out, but he's got no teammates to back it up and has to duck for cover. Graceful finally back in the fight as he throws out a nano boost. I didn't even see who that went onto. It's a boostio, boys, on the payload to buy time as Apudo was actually out of Graceful's sight lines, and now it's T2 man alone on the point trying to keep it alive for his team as 2 died to the self-destruct. Kart gets pushed over. Flash Wolves gonna pick up the series now 3-1 with a demanding win on Dorado.
And once again, well read, well coordinated, and well executed. That's exactly how Flash Wolves like to play. They read what you're trying to do. They expect the unexpected. Very difficult team once again to actually surprise, and they know how to play around you. They know how to counter you, and everything you try and do, Flash Wolves have thought of it first.
Yeah, we've been playing that in scrims since before you were born, kid. That's kind of what it feels like sometimes. But honestly, I'm gonna have to bring it up one last time. It does not matter how competitive the series may look up until that point, because is Flash Wolves consistently getting it over the line where their opponents are not. And even when their opponents are, they're only doing it 1 out of the 4 games that get played, seems to be the common theme with Flash Wolves this season.
Well,
and with that, they will keep themselves tied against Ardiant, and that will be the ultimate test.
Well, the common theme for Flash Wolves this season is actually that people are taking maps off of Flash Wolves. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be Liblet Supreme. They still take a map off of Flash Wolves. Everybody has the ability to take a map off of Flash Wolves, but never a match win. And that's the biggest problem, because it doesn't matter if you're taking maps, you're not actually getting a win at the end of the day.
Exactly, and it's getting reflected in the standings. In the case of Liblant in being last, in the case now of Mega Thunder in being in that 7th place. All these teams that have been able to take those map wins off, you're completely right, unfortunately cannot get it reflected in the standings. And actually for Mega, that's been a common theme for them as well, having the ability and being able to take these individual map wins but never quite closing out the series. And that is why they are 7th place, whereas a team like Hong Kong Attitude, who took map wins against Flash Wolves and then lost, are not, because they've been picking up wins elsewhere. Mega Thunder themselves have said they feel they can beat anyone in this tournament, but unfortunately that's yet to come to fruition.
And I think they can. The real thing is they've shown, especially on a map like Ilios, they show they have the potential to actually get that win. What was important about that first win is not only that 1-0 lead, but making sure that you've exposed Flash Wolves as a team that can be beaten. That's important. No team has done that to Ardiant yet, and the first team that does will expose how to beat them, and that's also important. And maybe Flash Wolves is going to be that team. But we talk about theme one more time. The other thing that Flash Wolves do consistently is look better as the series progresses. The longer the series goes, the better Flash Wolves get.
Absolutely, and that is evidenced in that series, like I said, against Hong Kong Attitude, that actually, went to that full 5 games, and it was in Game 5, having traded maps, the Flash Wolves are able to get the 2 consecutive map wins and turn it around for themselves. I mean, it goes without saying, this team's ability is being reflected in the standings, and ultimately every team's aptitude is being reflected in the standings. The ability is a little bit different, but this is one of those teams for whom their ability is reflected.
Absolutely. So Flash will still continuing their win streak, and in a similar fashion to Ardiant, maybe not as dominating because they have actually dropped maps. Ardiant once again have not dropped any maps, but for Flash Wolves, look, 6-0, you can't deny that. We're going to go into a replay before we move on any further. This is going to be the attack on through from Mega Thunder in the closing moments. And mind you, they don't actually get it across the line here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's as simple as look at who's dying before they're even getting the payload underway. They lost 2 members. They're not really getting many trade kills. They get a couple in here out of Apudo, but then they start to get kills coming back onto them. And I've mentioned it before, this is actually in a position where technically the respawn favors you. At the very far end of that courtyard, it starts to get a little bit more neutral in terms of total distance. I'm sure someone out there knows the exact distance, but really you feel like there should be more pressure coming out of Mega Thunder in these situations. But much like it was on Ilios, where Flash Wolves were really making Mega Thunder fight for it, Here the same was true, but Mega Thunder were not overcoming the odds and winning the fight.
And the thing is, it was kept fairly even when Apudo was getting the double kill with the Dragon Blade. They were still trading fairly even, but after that, it was all Flash Wolves. They were the ones getting the kills. The Pulse Bomb stick by Bacon Jack onto T1, that was what really pushed it over afterwards. You start to lose more members. Flash Wolves are now reinforcing. The T1, rather, the Mega Thunder reinforcements just not having as much impact as the Flash Wolf ones.
Exactly, and part of it was Flash Wolves respawns were often coming in with ultimates to play with, especially in the form of the supports. You know, if you're just barely keeping the point alive and then your Zenyatta comes in with a Transcendence, for example, it really helps you kind of stabilize. It helps keep those members alive. And everything the other team had been doing to close out on those members, the positions that they'd put themselves in, can actually start to blow up in their faces, because often you'll commit very hard trying to get that last little bit. Suddenly their health bar refills right before your eyes and you're actually a little bit overextended. So there's also a bit of folly there from Mega Thunder to not successfully read that situation. Here now is another replay, and this is going to be Flash Wolves pushing it through.
And Flash Wolves should be securing this with a, wall after wall, by the way, just shutting down sight lanes and also positioning from the Mega Thunder side. Mind you, the Mega Thunder players are playing, they're going for a very tank-heavy kind of lineup here. You're looking at players like White, you're looking at players like Tito, really trying to pressure that front line, really trying to make them way in, but every time they want to go, there is always something like an Ice Wall in front of them. Bacon Shake, Pulse Bomb sticks as well, everything just gets in the way. Ultimate's now coming online for Flash Wolves, and the timing is just great. White gets a Graviton down, but there's just not enough follow-up. There's no members alive, so despite the fact you got guys like Apudo still there, Enzinar tries to get in, not enough damage.
Yeah, and the truth is Apudo by this point is still just kind of being zoned out off to the side. Not even by Jongi. He'd actually killed Jongi. It was by K-Momo because of that defense matrix. And you also have this situation where, unfortunately, it's really hard to capitalize off a Graviton when there is the back end of that Transcendence. It was only the back end, but there's also that Mei in there. There's just so many people that are incredibly hard to kill, and even in among that, the fact that the Diva, you've got to D-mech and then kill the Diva. Like, if your only damage is Apudo and he's not in the fight, how are you, the lone Zarya with a couple of supports, ever going to kill those three people in that Graviton surge?
And look, the key word for this evening in this series has to be timing once again, because it was Flash Wolves that got their ultimates first. They had the earlier, they had the much superior damage, good card movement as well. By the way, the card does heal you while you push it, so everything kind of just works for attacker in that situation. Pushing Mega Thunder back ever so further, they get the first ultimates up. By the time Mega Thunder actually get their ultimates, you had an Earth Shadow at the end, you had a Graviton Surge, all your big stuff did come up, the Nano Boost as well onto Elk, but just all in the wrong order. You had a Graviton Surge, not enough follow-up. You had Tito respawning, Earth Shadow, no follow-up. You had then a Nano Boost onto the only remaining play, which was Elk. So all the pieces were there, just couldn't really complete the puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't help but feel, what if they had been able to get a couple of those more together? What if they'd even been able to get, say, a Nano Boost onto the Zarya? Maybe that could have been that extra damage they needed. What if they'd been able to get the Earth Shatter on the rest of the members? Just any one little bit of synergy between those ultimates could have been the absolute difference there. And indeed, the same is true on the offense as well. But once again, at the end of it all, it is that extra bit of execution from Flash Wolves to consistently close it out.
Here we go. 2 nights in a row. Bacon Jack, player of the game on the Tracer.
Yeah.
And look, he's still Bacon Jack. What do you?
Yeah.
Can't say much about that.
Yeah, and as much as it's well deserved on the Tracer, we also have to highlight his Doomfist play as well, because he played that for the other half of the night. And we talked so much about that, like, one rocket punch that basically won Volskaya Industries. It hadn't happened yet, because they did still have to hold under their own point B defense, but that was probably the rocket punch that stopped it from being a full point A holdout for Mega Thunder. So honestly, Bacon Jack across the board really looking like his old self, I would say, so far in season.
I mean, there was only one moment where he kind of didn't feel like his old self, but otherwise across the season too, like, he's been pretty dominant. And Flash Wolves have that in the first 2 weeks, they were struggling to find out compositionally what they wanted to play. Who's going to be the Doomfist? Is it Zonda? Is it Bacon Jack? How are we going to play? That's a lot of where their weaknesses came from. That's how they're dropping maps. They're still dropping maps, but I think for different reasons now, because they do look more comfortable with the compositions that they have picked up.
They've absolutely figured out, like you said, how to bring that Doomfist into the folder. And it wasn't even super necessary to do that. They were actually doing fine without it in certain situations. So really it just shows the strength of this team's ability to adapt, and that is the strength that is going to put them in good stead for tomorrow, because really the big thing that's come out of this is it was a win they needed to make sure they secured so that they could stay tied for first with Ardiant. And for the final match of this first round robin, we will at last be able to resolve that tie as Flash Wolves and Ardiant go head to head.
And just before we move on to anything else, just a recap of this evening so far. Blank and Ardiant, there was a 3-0 victory in favor for Ardiant. Then AHQ took on Hong Kong Attitude 3-2. Victory for Hong Kong Attitude going all the way to Game 5. Mega Thunder and Flash Wolves, we just saw what that was. And of course, Flash Wolves 3-1. Let's take a look at the updated standings. Flash Wolves now still sitting at number 1, 6-0, tied with Ardiant. Blank Esports with AHQ and Hong Kong Attitude in 3rd, all 3-3. Machi on 6th with 2-4. Mega Thunder 1-5 and 7th. And Limited Supreme on 8th, still yet to pick up a win.
And there's a couple of interesting things that kind of happen within that. So tomorrow, there are 2 other key matches that are going to resolve that middle of the pack. So as much as that Flash Wolves Ardiant match is going to be super exciting, Blank are going to play AHQ Esports Club. The winner of that is guaranteed to finish in that top 4. The loser of which is relying on Machi to beat Hong Kong Attitude, and that's the other big match is going to be Hong Kong Attitude versus Machi Esports tomorrow. Because if Hong Kong Attitude win that, they are guaranteed to finish top 4, being tied for 3rd against whoever wins of that Blank AHQ match. And like I said, in that situation, the loser of Blank AHQ gets bumped out of that top 4 unequivocally.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly the result that Hong Kong Attitude want. They want to finally secure that top 4 spot and ideally bump out either Blank or AHQ, both of whom they have now beaten.
And that feels like the only unanswered question, right? Is Hong Kong Attitude going to steal a spot? I don't want to use the word steal because they have earned it. Are they going to take a spot off one of the other top 3 teams from last season or not? That's really the big thing we have to look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah. And when you say earned it, that's the thing. In that win tonight, beating AHQ, that was how they've earned it. They absolutely deserve that spot. And like I said, they've beaten Blank as well. So really, it's the realization of that. And I said it during the series itself, it is the culmination of something that has been brewing since halfway through Season 1.
All right, let's get to the post-match interview now with Flash Wolves, and it's going to be with Zhongyi.
Hello，大家好，我是炯记。
第一个问题真的是非常的轻松，就想问你
It's an
刚
easy
吃的
question.
香蕉好吃吗？
Did you like the banana?
还是觉得有毒？
是香蕉好吃还是踢他棒的香蕉？
Is it the banana that was good or Tita one that was good?
这样子，
没有，在超商买的香蕉。
我有点害羞。
I'm a little bit
那
shy.
时候吃香蕉的时候，状况感觉有变好，结果第一张图。
I actually feel like I don't know. Maybe it made me. I think it maybe made me play worse on the first
地
map.
图是哪个环节出了问题？
What do you think was the
出
problem?
问题哦。其实看不太出来，因为我们基本上每次打控制图状况都不太好。
Actually, it feels like we've just been very weak on control in Season 2 so far.
可是，在推出图方面，我们打得反而更好了。
And it feels like we're much better on push maps where there is a card
爆
involved.
量上的问题，因为相对控制图来说的话，其他图的时间比较充裕一点，所以你们比较容易掌握对方的动向。
So it feels like maybe you got a better grasp of the
控制图会
objectives and the timings on the other
就
maps.
导致你们不知道内部要干嘛。
我们打推车图的时候，就是会比较冷静，然后
I feel like we're calmer on the push maps.
想好每一个细节。
We think clearer. We have better decisions.
太急了，还是
And
太
I
急
feel like on control maps, it's very rushed. We don't have time to make good decisions.
但是一下控制图可能打不太好。
And it feels like that's maybe an
因为
issue.
目前六场比赛来说的话，是5场都输了第一张，
So out of 6 matches, you've lost the first map 5 times.
是蛮惨的。
然后蛮好
Yeah,
奇
it
的
is. It has been a
就
problem.
第一季，然后到第2季来说的话，你觉得哪一支队伍的成长是你比较意外的？
So in terms of differences between Season 1 and Season 2, who do you think has improved? Zhongyi says HK is definitely.
换比较少，然后就换一个人之后，然后就
It feels like Hong Kong Attitude only had 1 new member,
第一季就起伏很大，
and they've really
不
skyrocketed.
认可，就打赢 HQ，
And beating AHQ and Blank already
打赢他们一次，所以
straight away is really big.
是那想问一下说，在工业城，那你们第一段防守的时候，就虽然你们第一波会战是压制到了 MT 的整体阵型，那后续你们他们攻上你们2楼的时候，你们为什么会整体都残血？
So I think it's on Volskaya asking a question about the B
7楼
defense.
跑进来，然后他突然从我们家2楼，然后跑到大补包，然后再跑出去，然后都是剩1滴，可是他没有死。
哦，所以
那
So
时
we
候
were
就
there was a moment we were chasing
7楼跑出来，然后他
the soldier a lot
对，就是这
that
边会
we really committed too hard onto.
被他吸引到，然后他们队友一直在做输出，我们就 很可惜，然后被灭团。
And yeah, I think there must have been a moment where they got kept out.
哎，明天要对上 ART 了
So，tomorrow you're playing
有
Ardian.
没有来个信心喊话什么的？
信心喊话，
How do you
这
feel?
个我也很好奇。
是是是，闪电狼 fighting 是不是？
对啊，因为其实我也是第一次跟韩国队伍有在比赛上可以对到，
So this is the first time we're playing
期待
a
又
Korean team in a
害怕
match.
又怕受伤害，
I feel like it is a bit
受伤害之
nervous,
后会变得更
nerve-wracking.
强。
对，受伤害会变得更强，因为我
I
们现在
feel like
很快
after playing them, we will be
希
stronger.
望赢的话当然是好啊，那输的话
We hope we win.
应该也是可以学到很多。
But even if we lose, we'll learn a lot.
谢谢。
好的，那感谢今天大家的收看。明天同一时间，我们还有 OPC
So
的
there it
赛
is,
事
Zhongyi with the post-match interview, a couple of his thoughts there. Hong Kong attitude, most improved team, and that's kind of, I tend to agree with that one. And also in terms of talking about tomorrow as well, facing Ardiant. Look, I think it's definitely right. Whether they win or lose, it's going to be. I don't do singing. I don't even know the lyrics.
I was
don't-
really getting into that.
I-
Unfortunately, I do know the lyrics, but
Sadly.
yeah,
Sadly.
and I think maybe that was actually Mega Thunder's strategy for tonight, was like kind of a bit of a sympathy play. It's like they broke bread before the game, or rather broke banana, and kind of wanted to get Zhongyi feeling sorry for them. He's like, I can't kill this guy. He gave me his food, but as it turns out, Flash Wolves were able to tap into their inner callousness and overcome Mega Thunder in what will be our final matchup of tonight. So with that,
Certainly.
let's have a look at tomorrow.
And tomorrow we will be rounding out the first round robin. Don't forget we will be starting 2 hours early as we will be fitting in an extra match to start the day. It'll be Mega Thunder against Liberland Supreme. Hong Kong Attitude take on Machi Esports. Flash Wolves and Ardian, the big match of the evening, and Blanken AHQ will round it out.
And that will be the culmination of this first round robin of OPC Season 2, and a lot to still be decided in that. To kick it off, you have what is going to be the final decider of what kind of happens in that bottom of the tables. Will Liberland fail to pick up a win, or will they tie for last place with Mega Thunder, which, by the way, would be absolutely devastating for Mega Thunder. Then you get Hong Kong Attitude against their rivals Machi, trying to keep their hopes of officially breaking into top 4 alive. Then the title bout, like you said, Flash Wolves and Ardian to decide that first place tie, and indeed Flash Wolves' opportunity to re-secure their throne as the top dog in OPC, and then to round it all out will be Blank and AHQ, one of whom will secure their spot in the top 4 at the end of the first round robin. The other will be completely dependent on Machi beating Hong Kong Attitude earlier in the night.
So it's going to be a big evening for OPC, rounding up the first round robin. Everything finishes up in the first half of regular season play in the OPC Season 2 tomorrow evening. I've been Kevin Everwalker, joined with me tonight, Matt, Pixie, Carol, and we will all see you tomorrow evening.